Yes, hello, I am James Rowlands, and today it's the WNR358. It's NXT UK. I am not alone, though, because I have the pleasure to be joined by Dan. How you doing, fella?
Hello, mate. I'm good, thank you. It's been a long time since I've last seen you.
We just can't get enough, can we? 3 in a row. Would you have thought at Christmas this would be the way it was? That really helped us, the anniversary show, didn't it?
Well, I kind of had commitment issues, make a few attendances, taken up every weekend for the past 3 months. Ain't bad.
Yeah. Well, I doubt so. We're going to get to it. We have NXT UK and, of course, news. But we start with the latest on the WWE Network, and we've got the Chronicle, Damian Priest, and we see the documentary taking place between January 31st, 2021 to April 27th, which will learn about Damian Priest's path which led him to WWE. He speaks about living in Puerto Rico, the Bronx, his struggles making it to WWE, and his dream of competing at WrestleMania.
The documentary begins with Damian Priest talking about growing up. He was born in the Bronx, New York, but moved to Puerto Rico at a young age after his parents split. Priest says it was hard growing up in Puerto Rico during the 90s. Nothing was given to you, and if you had anything, it was earned, which made you appreciate it. Priest spoke about watching wrestling in Puerto Rico, loving Carlos Colon, who was the reason why he joined the business in the first. He recalled being inspired by Carlos's son Carlito, who was a former WWE super.
At least someone was. Well, later on he would move back to New York living with his father and start practicing martial arts. For Priest, there was a difference between being raised by his mother compared to his father, since his father was strict. However, Priest says looking back at it, he believes that his father has raised him differently. He might not be where he is today. Unfortunately, martial arts was not lucrative, resulting in his father closing his school and moving away.
Priest says during this time he was not sure what to do with his life, so he was doing odd jobs. It was not until one of his high school friends encouraged him to try pursuing his dream of being a professional. This was a difficult time for the Bronx native, where he had to work different jobs while wrestling. However, he thanks music for helping him find peace of mind. Looking at an old picture of himself, Priest described it as...
Well, even though he was given advice by WWE members to help him become better, Priest took it as an insult. He would start blaming everyone but himself and become lazier. However, not be until the day he was offered a promotion by his employer, but asked to give up wrestling when he took his dream seriously. He would quit his job and continue to pursue wrestling. We then go to the day of the Royal Rumble, where Priest looks at the Royal Rumble stage. Priest said it's a big deal and is not sure if he can hang, but will figure out a way to do so.
We see highlights of Damian making his debut in the Royal Rumble match, which saw him eliminate Miz, Kane, The Miz and Morrison. The night after the Royal Rumble, the former NXT North American champion would make his debut on Raw, defeating The Miz. Speaking after his debut victory, Priest said end goal and always strives for something. A few days later, we see him and Riddle throwing a baseball.
Well, Priest mentions his history of working with Riddle on the Indies and even winning tag team gold together. Riddle says Damian's been through a lot in his life. For him, where everyone wants to work for this business, Damian needed this. We see Priest WWE try it in 2015, which he cut a lot of weight and says was the hardest 3 days of his life.
Unfortunately, he would not be signed as the company did not have everything for him. Every year after, he would contact WWE, but believing he would not make it in WWE. Priest would continue to do his thing until he was signed in October of 2018. At the start, he knew he was not perfect, but worked to get there. It was not until his match against against Finn Balor or NXT TakeOver in Your House when it clicked for him. He remembers after the match backstage being approached by Shawn Michaels and Triple H, who said that is the guy he needs.
Well, Priest would then talk about treating his body positively as he goes to chiropractor. He says there is friendship with his chiropractor because they care for him, not only as a patient, but being proud of with his accomplishments. And speaking about his favourite part of being Damian Priest, he spoke about his swag, which he feeds off Razor Ramon Scott Hall because he oozes machismo and was a huge fan of. And while in NXT, the Archer of Infamy picked Hall's brain and even asked to do a tribute to him with his gear. He even mentioned being nervous to ask permission to use Razor's Edge, but by giving a blessing from the bad guy himself.
On his match at WrestleMania, Damian said he felt drained the last 24 hours because of the emotions going through his mind. However, once he arrived at the building, everything changed. Priest said WrestleMania is a necessity, even though he attended as a fan.
Well, to him, it's about legacy and purpose because to brag his name, he needs to perform at WrestleMania, or else he says empty words. We see Priest doing virtual meet and greet with the fans, which describes as a cherry on top. After, there's a highlight video of his WrestleMania match with Bad Bunny against The Miz and Morrison.
After the match, Bad Bunny and Priest get a stand-in backstage. Bad Bunny spoke about Priest and saying it was a pleasure to share the moment with him and will cherish it forever. Priest would go to a space behind the stage. crying after experiencing the emotional moment.
And when asked about tell his old self, a choked up priest said he would not waste his time or work for his dream. He ends up saying, "Don't be this, be the one who works for his dream," as he crumbles the paper and throws it away. And fortunately, the more I watch him, the more I know he will be WWE champion. I've said that about Baron Corbin, I know I did, but with Priest, there is something there very relatable to me as well, because it's a struggle that they have. You know, we talk about it as well with the kind of how you should look and what your body should be. And like I said, we've always talked about maybe being a more huskier gentleman, and this is what Priest kind of struggled with. And it's that kind of also to go for your dream, to have to give up work, you know, to give up your safety net, which is something maybe people will never ever do, and Priest actually did. And I think the story of him getting back to WWE and then everything clicking in NXT and then getting to that moment in WrestleMania, I think it paid off. Dan, what are your thoughts on Damien Priest first and foremost, and of course the documentary?
Don't get me wrong, you know, Damien Priest is actually quite a talented wrestler, but it's just the whole cheese. Oh, everything was a struggle. Oh, his parents split up, and oh, this happened. Oh, that downfall. Oh, he finally makes it. Oh, he gets his moment. You know, it is just so cheesy. It's to goodness. It is just oozing cheese. It's like, yes, you know, everyone struggles in life. You know, nothing is handed to you on a plate. Kind of, I know it's like promoting that side of things. You know, like you get what you work for. You kind of, you know, you aim and you don't stop until you get it. I understand that. I understand it's a good motivational tool, but don't make it so fucking cheesy.
Are you surprised about the relationship between Damien Priest and Matt Riddle, and how the two men are on screen?
I think there's different backstage kind of things that go on. It's, you know, throughout your career in any kind of industry, you know, if you're kind of sticking in the same industry, like, you know, I work in construction, and there's been times where I've seen people from one site on another site, you know, and kind of, you've got a bit of backstage with them. It's like, you know, a current guy on this site I'm with, it's, he was in boss. So, you know, I kind of know him as a different name to everyone else, like, you know, that he goes by on site. You know, it is a good bit of backstage story there. You know, it's like, oh, my struggles, I was making it as a builder, but I ran into a friend that I went to college with, and, you know, he kind of inspired me to get everything I can out of this job.
I think some wrestlers, maybe Goldberg back in the day, and maybe some others that you can name as well, probably didn't realise what they had at that moment in time. And I think when you see Priest, especially at the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania, becoming that emotional after being there, he knows where he is, and he's, like he said, never thought he was going to get it, and he actually deserved it. So I think that's really nice to see. Actually, it means something to him. If they just walked it off and walked to the back and just went, oh yeah, fuck it, it's another show, whatever. But you can see, even like with the meet and greets, that it actually means something to her, and I think that's what showed me in this documentary, if you know what I mean.
No, I completely understand that side of thing, you know, getting to the point where you do actually achieve the work so hard towards getting, you know, and I understand that would be emotional. It's, you know, it's that, I do like that side of things, and, you know, his WrestleMania moment, he had a good match, and he kind of helped elevate this Bad Bunny thing as well, you know, it wasn't a terrible match. Well,
no, that's you being nice. I appreciate that. And also, I like the way he asked Scott Hall, the way he walks to the ring as well, as like in tribute to him and something like that. And of course, Scott Hall's a legend, or maybe you can call Icon. And speaking of icons, of course, it's a series on the WWE Network. And the latest one is Rob Van Dam, of course, the Hall of Fame. We see the documentary kicking off in pretty traditional manner by offering notable sound bites from various interviewees, including the main subject, Rob Van Dam. However, that makes the intro to a great way to introduce Van's story. The unique visual of spray paint, which we ultimately see, is spray paint designs on the former WWE Champion's classic tights.
It's different and symbolic, as Van Dam's story is ultimately about him being a and while he explains his approach to professional wrestling was to be different from the rest, we are treated to the visual of the tights. Another way he differentiated him, being spray painted. It's a great mesh of narrative and creative visuals. Well,
Van Dam's early life is explored briefly, prominently establishing his non-conforming nature, and fans also get to revisit the story of a young Van Dam kissing Ted DiBiase's foot at a WWE event. However, the most interesting part of the wrestler's journey to the ring comes when the audience get insight into his martial arts background. He explains how he trained kickboxing so he could use ring to practice professional wrestling.
Accompanied by old grainy footage of his kickboxing fights and an interview with his instructor, Kit Likens, the story does provide some new insight into Van Dam's journey. Unfortunately, when it comes to his actual professional wrestling training with the original Sheik and Sabu, very little is said.
Well, the documentary allows for plenty of time to dissect RVD's time in ECW, from his early gripes about being left off the company's first pay-per-view barely legal, and on his back with his innovative and breathtaking wrestling style during his historic run as television champion.
In addition to hitting home how special and unique a wrestler Van Dam was, especially for the time period, the ECW chapter highlights one-of-a-kind person that he truly is. Not only did he carry the company through his incredible performances, but he turned down huge money from the Premier Promotions and even allowed Paul Heyman to not pay him when the company was struggling.
Well, it's yet another example of how he is really, and was particularly at a time when wrestlers are jumping ship for bigger paydays at the drop of a dime.
RVD's WWE chapter blossoms thanks to interviews from Paul Heyman, who is the MVP in this documentary. Former WWE writer Brian Gerwitz and Vince McMahon. Heyman provides a perspective only a few can, as he essentially gave Van Dam the platform to become a superstar, and he also shines with great stories, such as when Steve Austin told him that RVD is the biggest superstar in the business.
Well, Gerwitz offers an interesting view from the creative team that was split on whether RVD could be a top star or not, while McMahon presence makes Van Dam's contributions feel extra significant, as it's rare for WWE CEO to participate in these documentaries.
ECW's return in WWE provides a nice dose of nostalgia for the die-hard ECW fans, and justifiably Van Dam is credited with making the two memorable ECW one-night stands, 05 and 06, a reality.
Well, the unfortunate aftermath of ECW one-night stand 2006 is also brings up the year as a crusher, despite how his title reign came to an end, but adding to the story, Van Dam owns up to his mistake and explains the mindset that steered him wrong.
The Icons episode does fall short when it skims over RVD's now part-time in-ring career, but more importantly, his dark days are only briefly touched on.
Well, there's not enough detail to provide the necessary impact for audience to truly appreciate his newfound happiness with Katie Forbes. The highs, like winning the W Championship, provide great euphoria, but the documentary doesn't possess the same emotional weight as a or Beth Phoenix, which hinders the impact of the conclusion.
Also, this episode of Icons fails to acknowledge arguably Van Dam's most important and iconic, that being with Jerry Lynn. One may assume that it's because of Lynn's association with AEW, but regardless of the reason, you cannot help but feel like something is missing.
Yeah, go back and just anybody wants to see an RVD match, just see that series with Jerry Lynn. I showed Dan that. One of the very, you know, like he tells me a wrestling fan, I go, right, okay, you got to see the match.
What would that kind of be nowadays? Would it be kind of like a NXT pay-per-view? I'd go with
probably
a Gargano Ciampa in the middle of their storyline feud. I think that'd be something good to show, because I think they had a few good NXT Championship.
Yeah, I think that feud there would be perfect to introduce something to it nowadays. But like I said, that you're comparable, because these two guys just had great feuds. And RVD coming out on top most of the time, but it didn't really matter. The documentary does conclude with a great feel-good ending that shows you Van Dam McMahon at the 2021 Hall of Fame, where WWE CEO acknowledged how Van Dam changed the business with his ring style. And you see RVD as well giving him a statement. McMahon's like, "What's this?" And he goes, "Oh, it's raps," and he's ah ha ha ha. Anyway, the ultimate big takeaway for this Icon story is truly how to appreciate how much of a trailblazer Van Dam was.
Well, from delivering moves such as the innovative Van Terminator to his nonchalant yet charming personality, Rob Van Dam was one of a kind. And his story is beautifully encapsulated by his words, "I did everything my way and I ended up at the very top."
Well, it's good to see his early stuff. I've seen most of his ECW stuff. Obviously, you don't want to show Jerry Lynn, but you show Don Callis in one of the clips given the title. He just lost his spark in 2003 for me. I thought this was great. Dan, what are your thoughts on this?
I thought it was good. I feel they missed things out and kind of things that they didn't need to. There was a few good moments in it. It was quite a long episode as well, wasn't it? I think it was like a couple of hours.
I think it was like an hour 15 or so, an hour 20,
It felt like a couple of hours.
Did it in two goes. But like I said, this was really, really fun as well, because we see RVD, and if anybody deserves it, it's definitely him. And is it a surprise looking back and thinking every wrestler now basically does what RVD does, you know, kick pads or with the kicks or jumping off the top rope, even over the top. I mean, not a lot of people are doing that. RVD was, and especially this guy's size, and now it seems that's the standard moveset.
Absolutely, yeah. You know, he's kind of loosely modelled on who I would have thought would be Jean-Claude Van Damme, kind of, you know, with the name and the look and even, you know, the fighting style as well, which I think it goes really well with kind of like, you know, the person who Rob Van Dam is.
No, I think without a doubt. So, really, really good stuff. We move on now to the father on the Broken Skull Sessions. and of course Charles Wright, better known as the Godfather. He says we're just gonna go skim through the whole show basically, because like I said, it was an hour and a half. This was a very long Broken Skull sessions, and Austin asks him at the start how's he doing. Of course, he doesn't own the strip club anymore that he used to when he was younger, and says it's marijuana helps him a lot in his kind of daily life. Of course, they're breaking out the Jack Daniels as well. We see Austin mentioning Godfather, of course, from the basketball player, and he turned into a kind of American football player with more of the kind of the muscle build to him. Of course, you watch this, Dan. What do you think of a young Charles Wright when you saw him that size?
I'll tell you what, I was like, I think Austin was surprised at his age and the size that he was at his age. And yeah, he was a big dude. He was, I don't know, you wouldn't have thought he would have gone into being wrestling like when he kind of grew up, would you?
No, without a doubt. 26 years old, and of course he spoke about his stories with the Undertaker as well, Dan. Are you surprised that the Undertaker and Godfather are the kind of best friends outside of the business?
No, yeah, I think that's cool. They seem like kind of similar guys who are into things that would cross over. I think he absolutely Charles Wright absolutely loved country music. Well,
yeah.
And I think a part in that I can't remember who was it that come up to him and said, "Dude, you do realise you're black."
Oh, that was Yokozuna. I think. Yeah.
And he was listening to his country music on a journey or something, and he's like, "Yeah." Yoko said, "Yeah, you do realise you're black."
Yoko was as fat a fan, he spoke as highly of Yokozuna as did the Undertaker, and of course, the Undertaker didn't have any tattoos or didn't even interested in riding a bike, was he?
Yeah.
And then Godfather kind of introduced that because he was an actual biker gang. That's what he had his tattoo on his chest as well. And he kind of said to the Undertaker, "You're big and white, you need tattoos basically to make that work." He went to the USWA where he wrestled a few matches, where he found out that he could make $1 million a year in wrestling, a bit like Bam Bam Bigelow. He trained under Jerry the King Lawler as well and did a few bits and pieces. But they said during that time at USWA they weren't getting paid much. $15 to $25, and Austin says that's what he was going to get paid. Isn't that incredible? That talent that had to start off in that way and go through there.
And then, struggled. It's like, fuck off, mate. You weren't driving from town to town, having to keep kayfabe up, whilst doing shows for bare minimum, and most of your money being spent on room and gas. You're only kind of doing it for exposure to get a leg up in the business. You're kind of actually losing money being a wrestler. And, I struggle because my parents divorced.
Well, and then you got the Dutch Mantel, who's Zeb Coulter, coming in and saying to him, "Hey, boys, you're going to be called the Soul Taker." Which, how weird is that as well, when you've got Mark Calloway in the same room? And not only that, you've got Steve Austin, so you've got three of the stars there training out to be young wrestlers, and what an experience.
Yeah, it's absolutely brilliant. There was some brilliant moments in there. It's like, when he used to say, if I wasn't feeling wrestling, I'd just take a bit of time out and go and manage one of my strip clubs. I was making more money. It's like, if I didn't enjoy what I was doing, then I'll take a step back, which is absolutely brilliant perspective in life, I think.
Without a doubt, like I said, he had to. He still kept the strip clubs going as he even joined WWE after Memphis, and of course Papa Shango. Dan, what are your thoughts on the Papa Shango character? Because this must date back to your childhood, sure.
It does. One of my early memories of watching wrestling was when Papa Shango put a curse on the Undertaker, not a curse on the Ultimate Warrior, sorry, and caused him to vomit this green stuff and. Made all random shit happening, and for a youngster, I was a bit scared of him, a bit wary of him, like, fucking hell,
Well, the thing, and he was 28 at the time, and he said he got really into the gimmick, didn't he? That they gave him the stuff to do. He looked up Live and Let Die. He went to New Orleans. He kind of learned all that stuff, and he said it was a match with Kamala. And he said as he went to touch Kamala acted terrified, and he realised because this guy knows what to do with his character, and I'm not really sure what to do with mine. And like you said, he talks to the Undertaker, and they say, look, if you don't want to do something, I'll just go away for a little bit of time. He did. He was going to go to WCW, and they signed Virgil instead. Can you imagine Godfather in the NWO in that role?
Well, he actually said that because him and Farouk was very close, and he said, look, they're not like they are in, they're down south. They're not like they are a bit further north. They will say things that will trigger you, kind of. I wouldn't do it personally. And look how Virgil turned out there. It's like
Well, exactly, and he got signed. You imagine the Godfather in the NWO during that time or something like that. But apparently, because of the UFC starting, they wanted to come up with the Karma gimmick, which stood for Kick Any Man's Ass.
Kick Any Man's Ass.
Yeah, and the Ultimate Fighting Machine. They had vignettes to come in. The Undertaker at SummerSlam in a casket match. Yeah. Which, again, wasn't too bad, you know. But he said he wasn't kind of happy at that point in time. Joined $1 million corporation. And then as the Attitude Era started to begin, did you see the pictures of the Papa Shango that he was going to be when he was going to come back?
He kind of had it as like a half black and half white face. That would have been absolutely sick.
It would have been.
And for him to have gone against, like, you know, that kind of era's Undertaker as well, it would have been absolutely brilliant. There would have been a few good matches going on there.
Well, I doubt he's going to come back as Papa Shango.
What year was that?
I think that was 97.
97, so that would have been... Do you reckon that would have overshadowed Kane, though?
Well, this is what I'm saying. This is maybe the character. They thought, well, if we don't do Papa Shango, we can let Kane have that kind of mystique. Instead, you look at what could have happened there with Papa Shango. Maybe you could have faced Undertaker at WrestleMania the following year
and Kane, and they would have had a mad... And then you could have chucked Mankind into it. That's fatal four-way.
But instead, he said, no, you're going to go Ron Simmons, you're going to be a Nation of Domination. And, of course, The Rock didn't want to wear any of the Nation colours. Like, it's like a small strip there.
Yeah.
And they were coming out, and obviously The Rock was becoming a star. And Godfather's just said to Rock one day, just call me Godfather, and you see him going... Karma the Godfather, and he said from that point it went on.
But they said, like, you know, the elevation that they all took, because Mark Henry done his Sexual Chocolate PA gimmick after that, then the Godfather, The Rock just went completely up, even D'Lo Brown and his tag team and Intercontinental success kind of took off. So everyone from that group, actually, it was elevating them all.
And then he was panicking and thinking, oh shit, I might be left behind a little bit. And his wife said to him, why don't you become a pimp? Which anybody's wife says that to the husband must be good. But of course, she came up with the whole idea. Said you should have women, you should do all this kind of stuff.
And kind of get, the walk-in stick, and you can get a couple of girls from the club, and
have all that.
Who was it he done it with first? He was having dark matches with Bradshaw.
Yeah,
JBL. And, you know, and he'd be offering them, and, you know, he'd go to take the woman, and then he'd get knocked down, and that'd be the start of the match. And it was actually a good story, and, like, the kind of how over that was just on dark matches, you know, that's what they should be used for, kind of testing out something. Right, if that's over, we'll give that a push. And they did give it a push. That's, you know, they listen to what the fans want.
Without a doubt. And like you see, they discussed the music as well. Godfather have been heard of it. He said it's a bit like of porno music mixed with a voodoo child. Bow, 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 bow. Which again, I was watching the Attitude Era as a child, and I really liked the Godfather as well. And maybe I didn't understand the complete gimmick, but it's something that you couldn't get away with nowadays. And this is something that they hit home a little bit and said you couldn't really get away with it. And what were your thoughts on the Godfather gimmick and everything like that?
Well, it's not only that. It's before we jump on. It's like they go, and Vince came up to him and he goes, "Charles, do you think we can get some girls?" And it's like, well, you know, that if Vince McMahon's going up and asking you, he's like that. I'm Vince McMahon, damn it, but can you get some girls?
Well, that and we shouldn't miss as well the Undertaker one where he's asking him if he wants some girls as well. You know.
Yeah, he was trying to get the Undertaker to break character. I think the Undertaker spoke about this before in his Broken Skull sessions or one of his Chronicles. But yeah, it's good to see kind of the other side of it, and yeah, brilliant.
Well, we'll see. And then, of course, moving on with the Godfather gimmick and the problems with the parent council and stuff like that. Of course, the right to censor came about, and he became the Godfather. And he says he really wasn't very happy with that character, which you know is a bit of a shame because it had to end like that. But like I said, that character will not work. It's like Val Venis, isn't it? Yeah. Another great talent, but unfortunately.
I don't know. I think, you know, don't get me wrong, it would be a good pop for the Godfather to kind of have a protege, you know, and like him come out and like him kind of teaching someone the ways, like, you know, how to be a pimp. I think that would be a good kind of transition and, you know, a way of going out as a Godfather.
Oh, without doubt, but he talks about trying to bring him back as a type, but it didn't really work. And then the Hall of Fame speech, of course, he was told that you better bring your whole family because you're going to go to the Hall of Fame this year. And he talks about hanging around with Snoop all day long. And then unfortunately, his induction talk, he forgot something, didn't he?
He forgot to thank his wife, the woman that made this all possible, the woman that actually kind of said, look, why don't you become a pimp? And everything that he'd been through, and he forgets her. He thanks everyone else in his career for everything they've done, apart from his wife, which is it is classic stoner. Isn't it?
It is classic stoner, and then they finish their drinks together, and Austin thanks him. But I mean, what a cool dude the Godfather came across. And maybe not the most exciting of Broken Skulls, but just such a chill dude that you could have a beer or possibly a smoke with, if he was talking about.
If one was that way. Yeah, it is something good. It's definitely worth a watch. Don't expect the kind of in-depth kind of talking as you have seen with other Broken Skull sessions, but it's still a good insight into the career. And this is a man that's kind of, you talk about changing your gimmick to fit in. This man, he was Papa Shango, then he went from a fighting machine, then he went to a member of a nation of domination, then he went to a pimp, and then he went to a good guy, yeah. Who hated pimps, and then he has adapted to overcome.
I think that, and another thing I will say as well is I love Austin and the way he does it. He makes me feel so comfortable. He makes the guest feel so comfortable. Like I said, Godfather just seems such a cool guy. We have covered on the WNR before the top 50 women, and of course top 50 tag teams is coming this month. They're doing it in episodes, 4 or 5 different episodes. What we'll do is we'll cover it as a whole next month, and maybe even throw a list of our tag teams in, or something like that.
We haven't done a list in ages.
We haven't done a list in ages.
And I feel that list has changed. I think every single list has probably changed,
it really
in my opinion.
It might be time to start looking at updating the old list. Of course, I think we did top 25 tag teams.
I know, like the top 3 tag teams it was a 3-way split between Edge, Christian, Hardys and Dudleys, wasn't it?
Yeah, but would anything have changed for you now? Has anybody jumped in between there? I mean, the New Day Usos.
I'd have to see the list, but I think with some longevity, there might be a couple of new entries. There might be people that have jumped up the list, as you say, like the New Day and that.
Young Bucks.
The Hardys. Obviously, they're not together, and...
Well, yeah, but still, I mean, you talk about legendary tag teams. It's something to definitely look at. WWE going to do the top 50 tag teams. Maybe that will give us a choice to make our selection as well. But we'll move on to news. And former pro wrestling star Marcus Buff Bagwell was arrested Saturday in Cobb County, Georgia on multiple charges.
Sorry, don't tell me it was the Big Boss Man, because that's where he's...
Unfortunately, it's going to be hard times.
I'm going to make you squeal like a bitch, boy.
I did my dust. Well, according to Wrestle Links, Mark Miller in Cobb County Jail record shirt, Bagwell was arrested, charged with misdemeanor driving under the influence of drugs, misdemeanor open container violation, 4 misdemeanor charges of hit and run, misdemeanor speeding, misdemeanor failing to yield when in an intersection, misdemeanor given false name or address on birth dates. Law enforcement offer 3 charges of following too closely: misdemeanor reckless driving, misdemeanor driving with a gore or medallion or emergency lane, misdemeanor duty upon striking a fixed object, misdemeanor driving on the wrong side of the road, and misdemeanor license to be carried and exhibited man. So,
and then after that, he popped open his. The officer said, "Is there anything else?" He popped open the glove box and said, "Yes, all these unpaid parking tickets." Liar! If you didn't get that one.
Well, anyway, Buff Bagwell's a little bit of trouble.
Not a bad weekend, to be fair.
Well, unfortunately for Bagwell, it's not looking good, but we do move on to arrivals.
Yes, international wrestling star B. Priestley is expecting to sign with the WWE soon. According to the Wrestling Observer newsletter, Priestley will begin work for the company on the NXT UK brand. Recently, Priestley appeared in New Japan Pro Wrestling next to the now IWGP Heavyweight Champion Will Ospreay. Priestley also worked for AEW 19.
Yeah, Ospreay now former champ at Little Partners as well. And then on to departures, and WWE comes to terms and releases some big names, including former Universal Champion Braun Strowman and Aleister Black. Sean Ross Sappho Falls reporting that the following names have been released. We've got Strowman, Black, Ruby Wright with 2 T's, Lana, Santana Garrett, and Buddy Murphy. And then WWE have confirmed these releases on its official website.
Well, Strowman is the most surprising name on the list. He was just WWE champion. He was just in a WWE Championship match at WrestleMania Backlash last month. Ali B had an extended period of absence, but has been back on TV in recent weeks and even started a program with Big E on SmackDown less than 2 weeks ago.
Lana and Ruby Riott have both been in tag teams with Naomi and Liv Morgan respectively, so the women's tag team division is more depleted than it already was. Lana even wrestled on Raw on Monday. Santana Garrett was called up to the main roster last year, but Creative just never thought of a way to introduce her. She was last seen in the Royal Rumble this past January. She was planned to debut for SmackDown before being let go.
Murphy had barely been used since his split from Seth Rollins, and a romance storyline with Aaliyah Mysterio was dropped out of nowhere.
So before we get on to the reasons maybe behind it, Dan, what were your thoughts when you first saw this news?
I was agog. My mouth was agog. I couldn't actually believe it. I think my response to you was, what the actual fuck?
Yeah.
Aleister Black, getting rid of him. Braun Strowman, I mean, the man is a legitimate monster and an absolute beast. You've tied him up to a long, extended contract worth multiple millions of dollars, and then to go and drop him like that, it seems like something funny's going on in the back rooms and they're trying to trim the fat to make a better sale.
Well, fans of professional wrestling media outlets alike are beginning to theorise that their company might be prepping for a sale. Recently selling their streaming rights to NBC and their streaming platform Peacock, it seems as many followers of the company are seeing the writing on the wall makes the ownership of WWE change hands, creating major ramifications within the world of professional wrestling. CM Punk as well has come out and said a few things as well. He said, "It's like a movie with a blockbuster budget and cast, but it's written by creative bankrupt nincompoops, specifically for an audience of one, in a language nobody understands anymore. It's trash."
So with that, is there more on it?
But people watch it because they like movies. Dan?
Is there more on it?
No, that's it.
Right.
That is the quote from Punk. What are your thoughts?
Well, with Punk saying he'd come back if the time was right and the opportunity was presented to him well, and him kind of saying that on the company, it's not holding anything promising, is it, really? But WWE releasing Braun Strowman, Aleister Black, Lana, Ruby Riott, I think is absolutely ridiculous. I think they've just signed Eva Marie as well.
Well, Strowman signed a monster deal in 2019, like I said, worth over $1 million per year. Because of that, he's resulted in a significant savings for the company.
Well, while a sale is possible, Brandon Thurston of WrestleNomics expressed his belief that the cuts are more about Khan and the WWE Chief Financial Officer, Christina Salen, balancing out some unnecessary decisions made by the previous team.
Well, Thurston noted that there were 300 wrestlers under contract with WWE in 2020, which is far more than the company can use on a consistent basis. With WWE unable to use a large portion of its roster, paring it down, save money, and create more opportunities for others, is a logical move. And they're going to start live shows soon, which is moving around, production trucks and everything like this as well. And the thing is I love Aleister Black like you. Well, we thought he was going to be a big star, and Braun Strowman, if they're not using him right, they don't know how to use him, go elsewhere and become successful and then come back a star. That's what wrestling needs, isn't it?
Well, that is it, and it's been shown, most recently with Drew McIntyre. I mean, he was kind of billed as the next great thing, didn't quite live up to the potential, or wasn't given enough opportunities in the right direction, tried a few times, came up a bit flat, took himself away, built himself up, built himself a massive name elsewhere. There are other places to go. Came back, fought his way back in from, the NXT way, WWE, and became WWE champion, and is now one of the biggest names in WWE at the moment.
I think that's the thing. If you can go away big success elsewhere, the only problem is if they all go to AEW, like we talk about on the AEW show, it will saturate the product for them, which might help WWE, because look at all the stars they lost in 94, 95 when things weren't going right, and then the stars they created in 96, 97. Unfortunately, if it was the people in charge now of 96, 97, they would have released The Rock, they would have released Austin as a ringmaster, they would have got rid of Triple H as Hunter Hearst Helmsley, because they wouldn't have gave him a chance to kind of progress and find that character as well.
But with that, there's over 300 members of staff. Is that like just wrestlers?
That's just
and
wrestlers.
managers?
300 wrestlers.
300 wrestlers.
That's NXT UK. That's NXT. That's 205 Live. Of course,
but
SmackDown
then,
Raw.
you kind of, if you whittle that down, there's going to be 40 on NXT UK.
Yeah.
There's going to be 60 on NXT.
Yeah.
100 for Raw and 100 for SmackDown.
Well, even maybe let's think about development. All the wrestlers coming through the Performance Centre, how many of that? So it was 50 training as well. So, you know what I mean? I think and watching Raw and SmackDown recently, it has seemed like there's like 10 guys just doing the same shit. WWE doesn't feel like it's got a huge roster. I look at AEW and I go, that is a massive roster. I look at WWE and I think, as Raw or SmackDown, it's not big. NXT and NXT are more impressive just because the kind of talent, but is it a case of, do they need to close that down and work on the main roster then?
But then I think with AEW, they kind of give it to you in, right, instead of showing one man, instead of having a feud between Jericho and MJF, we've got a feud between the Pinnacle and the Inner Circle, involving 5 guys on each side. So we've got 10 blokes involved in a feud that's just involving 2 blokes. It is just Jericho versus MJF, isn't it?
Yeah.
And, you know, by vast numbers, if you're going against the Dark Order, you're not going against Preston, against Colt Cabana.
Yeah, you're going against all them as well. Yeah.
You know, if you're going against Omega, you're going against the Good Brothers, you're going against the Young Bucks.
It's the same for Matt Hardy, Matt Hardy's family as well. They all got groups and stuff, but
exactly that.
I think it's not that big, but I think this is shocking because of how. The thing is, if they ain't been on TV recently, right? If Black hadn't come back and attacked Big E and they hadn't brought the vignettes and then been released, it wouldn't have been that much of a surprise. If Braun didn't have he beat Shane McMahon at WrestleMania, you know, and then he's in a triple threat match it didn't make sense. You know, it just doesn't make sense. That's what I found, and that's what I found where the old WWE, yeah, it was ruthless, but it's like the Bret Hart thing where it was business, you know, and they had to do. This just seems kind of so weird, especially with the releases we've had as well. You know, the commentated teams and, you know, Raw's Adlin Verk's gone. Tomato Phillips has been released now. Of course, Joe went, you know, a couple of months ago as well. What's going on with Daniel Bryan? You know, there's a lot of work to do at the moment, you know.
But do you think cutting it down helps kind of make it more of a, I don't know, something less grand, and then, like, you know, more people are getting utilised because there's less numbers, if you know what I mean? Like, you know, everyone's getting more to do as opposed to everyone getting a little bit to do.
I think it's right, but I think they're doing it like it's like wrong people. Like, no offense to Humberto Carrillo on Raw, you know, great talent, but they'd released Ricochet over him. Do you know what I mean? And that is the problem that they've got at the moment. I'm not saying there's talent to release, but if there was, they're picking the wrong ones. You know, people like Jackson Riker is still around. You know what I mean? Velveteen Dream, it took him fucking 8 months, you know, a year and a half to finally get released as well. There's talent around that you could say maybe, yeah, so long. But it's just a bit of a surprise when WWE was saying, oh, look at this guy, he could win the title. And then 2 weeks later, gone.
But then from other people's perspective, they might go, well, why would they get rid of Humberto Carrillo when they've got Ricochet to get rid of? You know, some people are more Carrillo fans. It is just depending on, you know, some people might be happy that Braun Strowman and Aleister Black have been released. Booker T, for one, is more happy that Aleister Black has been released from his comments, you know, saying that he didn't kind of have what it took backstage. And, you know, he had the entrance with the lift-up thing, he had the moves in the ring with his Black Mass kick, but he didn't kind of have something that made him stand out. You know, that is Booker T's opinion, and everyone is entitled to their own opinions.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is coming from an Aleister Black fan as well. I absolutely loved what AB done in the ring.
They dropped the ball with Aleister Black. I mean, The Undertaker was a slow walk to the ring, if you want to make it into that. He barely did nothing. The Black character could have definitely worked. We saw it work on NXT. The problem is the call-ups from NXT to the main roster are not working out, and it's making the talent, it's failing the talent as well. You look at everybody that's come up recently. Why do you think Ciampa and Gargano still in NXT? Because they know as soon as they're up on the main roster, they'll be on the fucking main event, as in the TV show, not the actual main event. Wrestling, you know, Carrillo, whatever. And then 6 months later released because they have no idea what to do. Look at Keith Lee. Keith Lee was the hottest man. One of the last NXTs you ever watched. Keith Lee beating Adam Cole, become the NXT and North American champion. He came up to the main roster. He beat Randy at one pay-per-view, and he's not been used since. And people are going, oh, he's going to be released. Is he injured? Apparently, WWE just don't know what to do with him. Why bring him up? The same with Aleister Black as well, when they just don't know what they're going to do. It's crazy, you know? It is. Look at Oscar. They brought... And they made her lose at WrestleMania. And that would have broken maybe any other wrestler because she was so strong. And the character development, she's become a fucking champion now in WWE. Whereas he just don't give people a chance anymore. And that's horrible to say because we love WWE, you know. Like I said, we love you. But they just, you know, is it going to get better or is this going to end with, you know, someone else owning the WWE and it just being like a business like Disney or something.
Would it be a bad thing if WWE changed hands? I mean, what about the product makes you, please don't change that, please don't. I mean, pretty much everything they're doing is doing, it is doing it to piss a lot.
I think you're right. I do. It's not good. SmackDown was good. It's all right now. Roman Reigns is the best thing in wrestling, but that doesn't save, like you said, everything else going on time. It's tough, but it's just one of those things that you're going to have to look at and kind of re-establish what they do and how they bring it. And the problem is, and it's happened for 20 years now, nearly, is you keep going on about another era and you don't build stars to replace the ones that you've got. And this is the situation you find yourself in. Because you think about what stars they've built in these past few years, after John Cena, Daniel Bryan, CM Punk, The Shield. Who else is like a main event talent that's come through, and actually sustained their push? Like McIntyre, what's he done? Like like you said, I'm McIntyre's biggest fan, but if the ratings aren't moving, if it's a case of people just being pissy with WWE, what can they do? You could have Austin in his prime on Raw now, and the ratings wouldn't adjust that much. I wouldn't think. I think sometimes it's a problem with the company. You know what I mean? Like, this is a lot of bad will as well.
I think there is quite a huge divide between AEW and WWE. It's I don't catch wrestling. I would say I would be all of my life, but I wouldn't rule out watching a promotion like NJPW, Impact, AEW, wherever it may be. I think that divide, it's kind of like, well, I don't. And WWE fans have done the same thing as well. They're completely anti everything AEW doesn't stand for.
But I think there's a lot of crossover, and I think a lot of people, if you talk about like how many people watch Raw or SmackDown, like 2 million. There's not another million fans just watching AEW, is there? Do you know what I mean? It's going to be half the audience and stuff like that. Yeah. And what is the problem? And is it Raw's 3 hours? Yeah, SmackDown 2 hours. But is it because of social media? When you flick on Twitter or YouTube, you can see the ending of each match. You can see the highlights of every one. You don't have to sit and watch the entire show anymore. You can check your results, quick results, and just see who won and who lost. And that's enough for some fans. They don't have to sit and watch it. It's not must see anymore. There's nothing you're going to miss out. I remember being a kid, and if you didn't tape Raw or you didn't watch it live, then you had to wait until the weekend to kind of find out what happened, so to speak. Yeah.
But I don't think there's that kind of commitment into it. I think it is, with back then, if you're going back to the late 90s, the early 2000s at least, there was a lot of commitment to it, and you had to watch it every week to find out what was going on. But it was 2 hours back then.
Yeah.
So, it was more digestible, and you didn't have everything else to follow it as well. You kind of just had, literally, you was either watching Raw and SmackDown, and then the pay-per-view once a month, and that would be it, and you'd kind of be able to follow the story along, or you was watching obviously until that is old. But, it would be just 2 episodes and a pay-per-view, and you wouldn't be lost. But, this happened on Main Event, that happened on the pre-show, that happened on Talking Smack, and you're like, well, why is that person missed out on the film? So it is hard to have to keep up with it.
I just hope that WWE, the fans coming back in July, a shot on the arm that he needs and the reactions they're going to get. And, if WWE are thinking they're going to sell out these shows, then maybe that is something that we're not. Maybe they will, and maybe things will start going back to what we perceive as normal. But I think if they don't, and then they start having problems with live attendances as well, then something's definitely going to be changing. But I think it's a case of going kind of back to basics as well. But like I said, it's been a rough couple of years for WWE, of course, obviously due to the COVID and everything as well, though. But AEW's still going up, so we've still got a lot of wrestling as well.
I think the time that WWE is dead is when someone making it in the business says, my dream is to be AEW. That is when you know that WWE is done. And
yeah, and it's a thing. Maybe it's a thing. Like, I don't want to make it comparable to football, but like Man City or Man United, I think a lot of people growing up during the time thought no one would be bigger than United, and it ended up being City. And I think maybe AEW could potentially do that, but again, I wouldn't write him off because WWE is a huge thing.
But
it's
then they could do a Chelsea and buy it for a few years, and then people are like, oh.
Look at WCW. They did a Chelsea.
Exactly.
They could argue with that.
That's what I'm saying.
Exactly.
There is
comparables.
Ways.
There's teams that try to buy the players, like Impact did, and nearly go out of business because they tried to do it. Can't think of any team like that. But anyway, like I said, this is the interesting thing. But it's big news, But that is the news now. So that's WWE. So we're going to go on to NXT UK. The matches to watch. Where we've got the women's gauntlet for the #1 contendership. We've got A-Kid versus Bate for the Heritage Cup. Of course, and a couple other crackers coming up as well. We don't want to spoil what's going on. But we start with May 13th.
Andy Shepherd and Nigel McGuinness welcome fans to WWE. They begin the show by announcing that Zia Brooke cleared to compete, been victim to Amale's attack last week. So tonight's gauntlet match will be narrowed down to 4 competitors with possibly a surprise end. We'll find out later on.
Well, we kick off the action with Heritage Cup rules match. It's Nathan Fraser versus Noam Dar. We start off with round 1.
Well, Noam Dar lands the first hit with a kick to the hamstring. Dar takes Nathan Fraser down on the mat. Fraser turns it around with an arm wrap. Dar counters with a tight wrist lock, then Fraser flips out the hold. Both men continue with back and forth wrist locks. Fraser puts pressure on Dar's arm with a standing hold up against the ropes. Dar applies a head scissors takedown. Fraser flips out. Both men remain locked up with an elbow and collar lock up just as the bell rings. Dar lands a chin Fraser, which is unclear whether it was after the bell. Neither man.
Well, round 2, Fraser reverses with a backslide after the men tangle and more hold-ups. Fraser rolls Dar up in a small package and scores the first fall. Fraser in his lead with 1 point.
Just before the bell rings, Dar calls for Shah Samuels. He arrives. Why did that take so long?
Well, exactly. He wants Dar there. Why can't Dar just be there,
Well, Fraser lands a well-executed drop kick on Dar. Dar obtains momentum with a solid kick to the chest. Dar looks for the same, but Fraser catches. Fraser misses the drop kick, then he heads to the top rope. Shah Samuels shouts at him from the outside.
Oi, oi!
Oi, you yoghurt!
Now, Yogurt's Gradwell. You yogurt!
Well, Fraser is distracted. Dar uses this to his advantage to meet Fraser at the top. The bell rings and concludes this round. Neither man picks.
Well, round 4, Dar and Fraser have 2 close near falls. Fraser gets trapped in a knee bar low and has to tap out. Dar picks up his first point, and it's 1-0.
Round 5, and both men slug it out at the beginning of this round. Dar lays in more kicks to the chest of Fraser. Shah Samuels tries to interfere by holding on to Fraser's leg. Dar uses advantage again by moving out the way of Fraser. Dar covers and
yeah, so Dar wins 2-1. There was some great changes. This is really fun match. It's great to see Dar actually win. I think it was like 2019 the last time he picked up one. But Nathan will work from the bottom up, which again is a good story. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. Shah and Dar can go far in this one, there's no doubt.
Well, the NXT UK Tag Team Champions, Pretty Deadly, is ready to prove why they are the best tag champions.
Well, at Performance Centre, Trent Seven is having a little chat with Jack Stars, and then Sam Gradwell calls Seven out again. Come here, you! And Seven and Gradwell start to brawl before the others in the gym have to break them apart.
Well, Mandrews with Subculture, Flash Webster Morgan, and Danny Luna versus both trade lockups. Mandrews stacks Levi for the first near fall. Still down, Andrews lands a perfect stand-in for another near fall. Muir turns it around with heavy uppercut and Muir hosts Andrews up in a torture rack. Mandrews slides out and
picks up where he last left off with an assistive rope power slam for 2. Andrews looks for a sunset flip. He rocks Muir with insecurity instead. Muir gets caught with a stun dog millionaire followed by a perfect suicide dive from the outside. And back in the ring, Andrews sends Muir away with shooting star press from off the top. And Andrews picks up the pinfall victory.
Well, he has the look, and he's been quite impressive, isn't he, Mir?
Yeah, I mean, look at him in there. You can see he's, quite an impressive-looking chap. Built like a brick shithouse, as we say over in England. You just see where Subculture go. The new female entrance in black and white, and with the outfits there. Another underrated talent in Mandrews. What are your thoughts of Mandrews? He's great talent. This match was okay, but...
Always been a huge fan of Mandrews. Brilliant. He's happy where he is in NXT UK. Hopefully they're going to get a midway title, an intermediate championship.
Well, I say with Danny, with the Danny involved now, that hopefully the Subculture can maybe go somewhere. Like I said, a fantastic talent. The win for Mandrews, experience for Levi worked out, and now that's Aya Brookside's out of the main event. A male who attacked her wants to take Brookside's place, but Sis Cullen won't let that happen. And then we find out what's happening on next week on NXT UK.
Well, A-Kid will put his Heritage Cup Championship on the line against Tyler Bate. Ilya Dragunov will be a guest on Noam Dar's Supernova Sessions.
And now it's the main event. Who will become the next woman in line for a shot at Kaylee Ray's Women's Championship? The gauntlet match will begin with Isla Dawn and Emil McKenzie. So here we go, an event of this week's NXT UK episode. And Dan, you're going to be introduced to the women's division. It's been a long time since you've last laid eyes on the women of NXT UK. Of course, a lot has changed since then. You, Ray, as the women's champion, being the dominant one. Of course, now Kaylee Ray is the NXT women's champion still, being quite dominant. And even in world title pictures changed a little bit because, of course, you had Volta as the NXT UK champ. And right now we've got Volta as the NXT UK champion as well. So it might be a bit difficult for you to get kind of adjusted to it.
Yeah. So,
you know?
So when did Volta become champion then?
When we watched him beat Pete Dunne at that takeover,
okay.
yeah.
So nothing's changed. So I recognise Isla Dawn in the ring. Who is this Amelia McKenzie?
Well, Amelia McKenzie is someone that has been around for a little while, been away from NXT UK for a couple of years due to other problems off screen and on them, so to speak, with talent involved in NXT UK. That's all kind of resolved back now. And McKenzie has come back to the women's division looking to be reinvented. She was teaming up with Miko Satomura to take on Isla Dawn and Kaylee Ray. So these two women know each other very, very well. Of course, Isla Dawn has kind of changed the gimmick a little bit now. She's kind of more the sinister Scotswoman, and she's gone for a gothy type character. A bit, Aleister Black-esque-ish, so to speak, you Ouija balls and stuff like that. But these two women, of course, have got a history with each other. What are your thoughts on these two? Of course, you know Isla Dawn a little bit, but is anything impressing you going?
These two women are having a solid match. It seems to be good and free flowing. It'd be interesting to do what they do with McKenzie on upon a recent resurgence, whether they're going to give her a push or if they're going to try and get Isla Dawn to be the new face of the women's division.
Well, what's going to be interesting, you're going to see a lot of women in this match. Of course, you've got 5 women in this one, 4 that we know about, and 1 to be announced, of course, with Isaiah Brookside being taken out, and the winner of this will face Kaylee Ray. So no takeovers at the moment, but we have had just the one special so far, so we might have that down the road. But the reason NXT UK is so good as well, it's like the old style, when you first got introduced to NXT, the hour-long show, each week kind of focusing on a few different storylines and not kind of oversaturating it either. Of course, this week about the women's division as well. McKenzie there, quite impressive off the top with his spear. That might be over. No, door managing to kick out.
Do you think that was a good concept that NXT used to use, with the 1 hour? I used to absolutely love it. It was, it didn't drag on. It finished before it got boring. You kind of knew that everyone would get an allotted time, so you'd be able to know exactly what feuds was going on to the 5-match pay-per-view that they'd have that'd only last an hour and a half, 2 hours max, which was an absolute perfect timing. And for NXT UK to kind of follow this trend as well, the women, they get an absolute brilliant amount of time.
Well, yeah, and this is the thing that I've been really enjoying. It's taken me back to the old days of NXT. The talent in NXT UK stands out as well. You see Isla Dawn there with a vicious German suplex on McKenzie, actually eliminate her in this matchup, but then straight away you see Dana Luna coming in, of course part of Subculture, teaming up now with Mandrews and Webster, and she is taking herself to a different level. Of course, a Welsh native, as only a recent addition to the women's division, but she has impressed me because of her kind of skill set that she's got involved. And of course, she's going to have the advantage in this matchup now as well, isn't she?
Absolutely, yeah. She's the more fresher woman. She's coming into an Isla Dawn who's faced a few minutes with Millie McKenzie as well. So, do you think anyone would kind of be able to go to WWE?
I think this is what I like about NXT UK as well, is that it's still developmental, and I think we see that with the women's division, especially these women. But you look at the talent that's come through, former champions, Toni Storm, of course Rhea Ripley now as well. Ripley, of course, the Raw Women's Champion. There's been some great...
Rhea Ripley, she was NXT,
yep.
Raw,
And exactly, and so that's the build to go. So someone like Isla Dawn, if she can get serious, get behind her, in NXT UK, have that success, go to NXT and find it. Toni Storm will maybe eventually have an opportunity. Someone like Katie Ray is a great thing because we were surprised when she won the Women's Championship and she's proven everybody wrong. So even, I'm not going to say she can't go to NXT or she can't go to the main roster and prove it because she's proved everybody wrong. And that is what they're trying to fight to face, which is even harder when you think they're putting themselves through this matchup just to face the forever champion in Katie Ray. And Danny Luna have shown a bit of an experience running headfirst into that turnbuckle and getting rolled up by Isla Dawn. A second victory, or second elimination even.
But will it be third strike and she'll be out because Satomura's coming down now? She don't look like she's going to play about.
Well, Miko Satomura wasn't even in this matchup announced because she's faced Katie Ray before. And like we talked about on Prelude, has faced Isla Dawn. She's coming down fresh, the best in the world. The one woman who is respected by everybody, be it AEW or WWE. And Dawn's going to try and give her best credit to her.
Well, running drop kick just basically immediately stops Satomura before she even gets into the ring properly.
And Dawn's showing the fire here and showing a lot in this matchup, impressing me. Just trying to beat down on Satomura, who's come to NXT UK. He can go anywhere in the world and win the Women's Championship. But you got to think the tank is running low on Isla Dawn.
She's only been going for, 10 minutes? So it's not... She was having a main event match. She'd be going for 20 plus minutes, so...
That's true, but you've got to think of mental exhaustion as well. Different opponents, different game plans. She didn't even know Miko was going to be in this matchup.
But if she's going to be the champion, James, she needs to be able to adapt, overcome, go from the start. People have gone from number one in the Royal Rumble and fought through 29 other guys. To fight through 4 other people shouldn't be a hardship.
Well, like you said, if you want to win it, then, like I said, you've got to beat everybody that's involved.
And it's less punishing than an Elimination Chamber, which is a similar kind of concept.
Well, you say that kick to the head of Dawn there, like it had enough impact of a chamber.
But not quite enough to keep Dawn down.
Well, Dawn's still in this one. And like I said, she's got a lot of fight in her, and maybe this new character that she's got is making it work out. But the kicks for Miko and the strikes...
Well, is Isla Dawn summoning a dark side of power to help overcome these challenges?
Well, it looked like that now. She moved that away of Miko and she kind of got it from somewhere. And the kicks, like I said, of Satomura and the punches, all different angles, so you can't block them. But Dawn now might have this match. Lovely bit of veteran experience there from Satomura holding on to the ropes. It didn't pay off in the end.
Do you think it is a waste having a wild card entrant come in and not win it? Like, we saw in the Casino Battle Royal on AEW with Lio Rush coming in. Do you think it's a waste or do you think it's too cliche to have a...
I think if it's... No offence to Lio Rush, but when you compare it to someone like Miko Satomura, I think it changes things. I think the bigger the impact of the surprise, I think, especially with this match now, Satomura might be the favourite. Not then with a double knees to the face by Dawn. And maybe if Dawn can get the victory, she'll prove that she's the best in the women's division.
Running knee strike, the knees, but Satomura managing to roll out the way.
You see the DDT now setting up the kick, and Satomura...
Oh, lands it.
Well, the best in the world there with a back kick to the head. But I don't think she's finished yet with Dawn.
Hoisting her up, fireman's carry. No, Dawn with the roll up. 1, 2, no. Kick out. Into an armbar. Satomura looks poised to finish off Dawn.
Well, that's Satomura knowing exactly where she is, exactly that time.
Into a roll up. 2, 3.
There we go. Isla Dawn eliminated, but what a performance, Dan. You must be impressed with what she accomplished there.
Very impressed, yeah. Managing to counter from the roll up when it looked like it was going to be escaped straight into, from a submission. Then it looked like it was going to be escaped.
Oh, here comes Ginny, accompanied, of course, by Joseph Connor. We'll get on to Connors in a little bit, Dan. But Ginny coming out the fashionista, she calls herself.
Ginny Couture.
She literally thinks she is the best thing going in the women's division. But unfortunately, she's going to have to go against Satomura here.
Please, one striking.
Well, at the moment in time, she's the last woman in. So whoever wins this is the number one contender now. And does it give an advantage having someone on the outside? Or when you're the best in the world, doesn't it?
When you're going against Miko, so you could have a ring surrounded by people against her, and Satomura could on top. She's that damn.
Oh, Jenny wants to prove that she belongs, and she's come up short in the past.
See, an updated women's list, would that include Satomura?
Well, Satomura would be a different one, because if you look at the impact she's had outside, there's no doubt she should be in the top 10 anywhere.
It's like, would there be a Piper Niven?
Well, that's the question. If we're going to look at, probably, I don't know, that's what I'm saying. It'll be interesting to have a look at. We will have a look at, of course, women's lists. That will involve UK talent as well. Of course, the men's list as well. And tag teams at some point. As Ginny trying to take control of this matchup. But I don't think trying to out-wrestle Miko is actually going to work. Or mightn't it? It's a British style. Can that trump the Japanese strong style, so to speak?
Well, it depends on the wrestler and the opponent, really. I mean, you could probably use British, Japanese, Irish and Cantonese strong style against Satomura and she'll still beat you.
Well, saying that at the moment, Dawn, very nice for the armbar and keeping close contact. And maybe this is just a strategy, because the thing is, if Satomura's there, she can't kick you. Or, so, well, I say that.
So who would your favoured opponent for Kaylee Ray be?
Piper Niven. But I don't know. My only thoughts about why we haven't seen Niven and Kaylee Ray yet, and Niven winning the championship, is because of no takeover. A bit like why Aya Dragunov and Volta haven't had their rematch yet, or Aya didn't win the title. I may be wrong with that, but I think if we've had a takeover, if we can build towards one, I think those are the matches that we're going to. Those will be the two top matches we see. And maybe Mustache Mountain for the tag team titles or something like that. It'd be interesting.
So is that why you think NXT UK are holding off kind of crowning new champions for that simple fact that they want to do it in front of them? They want to kind of give something back to the fans that have been faithful throughout this.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, right? Like talk about 500-day reigns, 700-day for Walter as well. They have had 6 months off, and I think this few months now back, of course, since we've had it, is them adding, to the record, getting a few defences in, just so it doesn't look like, well, you held it for this long, you only had 4 title defences maybe, and then a takeover, because they've cancelled takeover Dublin that they had scheduled, but maybe, I don't know if they're going to come back or have an event in the UK this year. This is what I'm saying. Yeah. But can they hold off for that long with these champions? Miko Satomura here and Ginny, one of these women deserve a chance, or is she the forever champion? Is it just like, this has happened, but even if it didn't, she would still be that champion?
Oh, indeed, yes. I'm sure these are the questions that are going to be getting answered.
I suppose, well, this is the thing with NXT UK. This is what we're going to follow for the year as well, to see where it goes. And at the moment, we know the next challenger, Kaylee Ray, is one of these 2 women. And we're going to find out what happens, of course, in the men's picture as well. But
Satomura's got Ginny all tied up, and Ginny attempting a few strikes. Satomura just shaking them off, hitting a few of her own, and Ginny doing everything she can, manages to get a suplex from off her knees. Very impressive into a cover, but not quite good enough.
No, you see the strength still left in Miko as Connor's looking on, trying to help her out in any way he can. But at the moment, it is just a old-fashioned slugfest between the 2 women.
Do you know who he looks like? Neil from The Young Ones.
Mate, his gimmick is the old William Regal.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, it's awful what he does.
He just looks like Neil.
It is Neil from The Young Ones. Yeah, long hair.
Yeah, Nigel Planer.
Well, nothing's more plainer than that, Dan. Miko Satomura with the spinning heel kick right in the face of Ginny. Now looking go to the
STF.
And the submission locked in.
Trying to crawl. She's got quite a lanky frame, so her reach should be a bit better than most other competitors, and that helps get her to the bottom rope. Tamura forced to break the hold.
Well, Connors better be careful, because Miko, I don't think Connors is not old enough to be put over her knee. I'll tell you that, as Ginny now using the interference.
Hanging Miko up on the middle rope, bouncing her head first over to cover. Well, just a 2 count.
2. The thing with Ginny, as I say, is it's not pretty, but it's effective. And what I've seen of her in this division as well, she's gone about her business quite well. Maybe, failing in the top matches, but if she can get this victory now, there's no doubt that she can make a huge statement, as now Miko picking up Ginny, but Collins on the apron.
A worthwhile distraction, even if it did him getting a kick to the midsection. Satomura's head is turned for Ginny to attempt to strike, blocked by Satomura.
And a Death Valley driver there, sending Ginny down, but back up just in time to catch a kick.
Straight to the chest. Ginny still being defiant. Step up axe kick to the back of the head, into the cover.
Ginny's out.
1, 2, 3.
There you go.
And I think that's going to be something that Kaylee Ray is going to have to think long and hard about how she's going to beat Miko Satomura.
Well, it's to say that's an excellent point, because first up, Miko Satomura wins the gauntlet match, becomes a number one contender, but there is no doubt in my mind, Dan, that Kaylee Ray is watching this in the back, taking notes on Satomura. That's what a good champion is, but what an incredible number one contender to go through that. Dan, what were your thoughts on the matchup?
I thought the matchup was good, seeing Isla Dawn dominating throughout the first couple of bouts. You thought maybe something good could come her way, but up steps Satomura, who vanquishes her and Ginny in quite spectacular fashion. Did she do it convincingly enough to be able to face the forever champion? I don't know, maybe a match, a face-off will tell the time, and Kaylee Ray is out in the entranceway, belt proudly around her waist.
She's not afraid, and that is one thing about Kaylee Ray that we have seen here in NXT UK, is that she wants the challenges. If Miko Satomura, wanted to come to NXT UK, she wanted to face her. She has beaten her once. The question is, the first time, was it just an upset? Was it just a mistake? Can Satomura actually get the job done, or is Kaylee Ray, like you said, the forever champion? It's an interesting question. What are your thoughts on the NXT UK women's division? Little snapshot there.
I think it's good. I think it is the way that it's being held on NXT UK's regards is how it should be held across any wrestling company.
Yeah,
I think women, they should be given a time to showcase the talents, and in a lot of matches they are as good as, if not better than, a lot of men's matches I've seen.
Yeah, without a doubt. And you see a nice sign of respect there with each woman bowing to each other. Oh!
No! Kaylee, the cheap shot, taking down her new challenger.
Well, and that is something we're going to see coming up on NXT UK. But move on to our next episode, and it is the 20th of May. And we open with a video package based on last week's sit-down interview highlighting Tyler Bate, Niall Dahl's two prior matches, including one with a crowd, along with A-Kids run as Heritage Champions so far. And of course, we're back in the BT Sports Studios in London with Andy Shepherd and Nigel McGuinness voicing the action. We start off with Rampage Brown versus Wolfgang.
Well, Rampage's search for another match with Joe Coffey led to this after he interrupted a kickabout with Gallus. Well, the pair scrap on the outside with Wolfgang backing Rampage into the ring post. Wolfgang breaks a count out but rolls Rampage back in as he wore him down with grinding his elbow into Wolfgang's knee. Rampage fought free but ends up getting caught with a Shadows over Hell for a near fall.
Well, Spear follows up for a near fall as Wolfgang keeps up lamenting, but he's grounded, and the abdominal stretch made famous by Wilbur Schneider back in the day is counted out with a hip toss. Rampage throws Wolfgang to the corner, then followed up with a clothesline and the Dr. Bomb for the win. This was a good, hard-hitting match. Brown working his way through Gallus. We've done everything in NXT UK, and he wants their leader. And then we see Tyler Bate is jogging on the spot backstage, ready for his main event match.
Yes, and earlier this week at the Performance Centre, Ashton Smith is throwing medicine balls. He's randomly asked about being a new father when Tioman interrupts to talk to him about family. He brings up Oliver Carter, who's been MIA for a while, and suggests that he's forgotten about his family.
Well, we see Aoife Valkyrie get a solid vignette. She's rebuilding herself after her first loss against Miko Satomura 3 weeks back. At least she's not had a crisis of confidence then.
Well, backstage, Rampage is icing his ribs as he walks into Gallus. Joe Coffey still wants a match, but only when Rampage is healed.
And then we get Amel versus Brookside. This is Amel's first appearance on the show in over 3 months, and earned herself this match by attacking Zaya Brookside 2 weeks ago.
Or in the ring, Amel stays on top of Brookside, stomping a mud hole in her before a face-washing boot almost got the French native her first win. A whip takes Brookside back into the corner, but Zia fights back, sidestepping the charge before a drop kick took Amel down. Hair scissors keep Amel down as she did running neck breaker, But Amel's back with forearms and a Northern Light suplex for a near fall.
Well, Brookside kicks Amel down out the corner, but Amel pulls her back off the top rope, then snatches the win with a modified spine buster. That's Amel's maiden win on NXT UK. Hill wins the grudge match, so the face gets taken out and then loses the match when she comes back. Doesn't normally happen, but, you know, I suppose it was okay, but both still very green.
Yes, indeed. Hopefully, you know, better and bigger things are to come from both. A-Kid is flexing with resistance bands backstage.
And then we see Charles Samuels is picking his horses as Nathan Fraser walks in to steal his cuppa. Fraser snatches the paper as he gets his wish of a match next week.
They replay Miko Satomura winning last week's gauntlet match and the post-match altercation with Kaylee Ray. There's some sort of angry Miko backstage.
And then we get the Supernova sessions and cue the TV chat music. Dragunov's the guest. He doesn't seem to be in the mood. Perhaps it's Colin the Caterpillar.
Or No Arms making little things a little serene with tea lights and waterfall. It's like a spa. He's got a wacky bathrobe for Ia as Dar then plays amateur psychologist over Ia's anger issue. Dragunov tells us he felt pain after losing to Volta and was taking it out on everyone who was in his way.
Well, apparently he is not that person anymore, but Dar brings up how he broke Dave Mastiff's nose, then gave him a gift, a stuffed therapy dog for his trip back to Wigan, and bought a personalised harness for it. From experience, I know those things aren't cheap.
Dragunov tries to laugh it off and said that he could hurt Noam. Dar says that he is a fake and pokes the bear before they sign off. He comes back to take his therapy dog, which somehow wound up Noam.
Well, Dar is either the bravest man in NXT UK or the stupidest. But he's the glue that holds the show together. I mean, his Supernova sessions are the reason why these matches kind of get made and all this kind of stuff. And it's great to see, like I said, Dar and Shah are great talents. And Nia Dragunov, with this storyline, and we're going to go into it as well, into NXT UK, is probably my favourite in wrestling at this moment. But earlier this week, Sam Gradwell was in the Performance Centre looking for the assistant to the regional manager who has flags. Gradwell accused them of having a hazardous work environment and wants a match with Trent Seven.
After a break, the assistant to the regional manager has some announcements. Noam Dar versus Ia Dragunov is in 2 weeks, with Joe Coffey versus Rampage Brown also for 2 weeks' time.
So we move on to a main event of this show. It's the Heritage Cup. It's Tyler Bate versus A-Kid. We've just seen the introductions. And what are your thoughts on Tyler Bate? You see him there. How's he looking to you? Of course, the very first former NXT UK champion.
I don't know. He's looking like he's kind of beefing up, training up. He's looking in better shape than he ever has done.
So we see the introductions here for the Heritage Cup. And of course, A-Kid lifting the trophy and kissing it. Was it for the last time, Dan, maybe? I mean, Tyler Bate, these two men are 1-1 when it comes down to it. But when they come the line, A-Kid came through. What are your predictions in this one?
I would like to see Tyler Bate go on to get the victory. But, you know, A-Kid, I think he seems to be the man to take this. It's kind of like a midweight title, isn't it, for the NXT UK division? Played by a certain set of rules, 3-minute rounds.
Yes, 6 3-minute rounds, yeah. And of course, you've got to get 2 falls to 1. We've got to come a bit accustomed to the Heritage Cup rules now, haven't we? We've seen it a few times, watches like it. What are your thoughts on that match type?
I think it's something different. You know, it brings something good to a title. You know, it's kind of like having a hardcore title where every match is hardcore rules. You know, it's got a certain rule type and stipulation. I think it's good to have that kind of title around because, you know, you can have normal matches for an Intercontinental Championship and kind of, you know, you can have any different types. You know, you're stuck to a certain set of rules for a match, which I think it's good for that cup.
Yeah, and it's a very old school style because, of course, back in the days of British wrestling, did have the round systems. And this is a very interesting matchup because, of course, A-Kid coming through with a lot of big things behind him, being trained by Tyler Bate as well. But you know, the question is it Bate has said that his overconfidence is going to get to him. You know, even in the build up to this matchup, A-Kid is going to win, and Bate says no. You need to kind of lose to be a main superstar. Is that true? To all the best wrestlers in the world, do they have to go through defeats to kind of work out what went wrong and how to improve themselves?
I think that helps build a wrestler to a complete whole. You know, when you've got an undefeated streak, you've kind of got a different type of pressure on you. But, you know, when you've experienced loss, as, you know, every single wrestler out, You kind of, you know what it's like to be on both sides of the coin, so it makes you appreciate winning more. If you've been poor for ages, it makes you appreciate money.
But I think this is the thing with Tyler Bate, and it's something we've seen with him ever since losing the championship. Has he really pushed on? A couple of runs with Trent Seven as NXT Tag Team Champions kind of didn't really play out on the singles competition. He's like coming close and coming up short against his kind of problem. Is this the time now for Bate to say, no, hang on a minute? Because his problem is that his potential, or that was his peak. And there's no doubt about this guy is still young, and he's got a hell of a future in front of him,
Absolutely, yeah. I don't think he's even close to reaching his peak as of yet. He has experienced the biggest loss in NXT UK. Which, and to understand and to build himself up from that, to get himself back into a position where he's fighting Heritage Cup against the man that he trained. And surely that says something about his training ability, that if he's able to train someone to the point where he's unable to beat them, or he's got to go above and beyond to beat them.
I think about that, and I think what we've seen from that first round of action as well is that at the moment it's a complete stalemate. This proper chain wrestling that we're seeing, the interconnection. Like I said, these two guys know each other so well because, like I said, Bate has taught him. But is it a case of Bate has taught A-Kid everything A-Kid knows, but not everything that? So now we're going to see that as the rounds go on.
But has everything A-Kid learned been from Bate? Has he not picked up a few things from down the line from other people? Is there maybe a few things that A-Kid knows that Bate doesn't?
Well, what I find interesting as well about this match is Trent Seven is in Tyler Bates' corner. And usually it might not be the case. Do you think there's a reason for it? Do you think these guys, after maybe suffering a few losses recently, we know Trent Seven's got a big match against Sam Gradwell coming up, but is it a case of trying to build back up again?
Well, I think, having a familiar face in your corner, as is common with Trent Seven, it is good for Tyler Bate to kind of have a familiar ground, Trent Seven was around when he won the championship. Trent Seven's been there. He's helped pick him up. And that maybe Trent Seven's been backstage going, look, this is where you're going wrong in the match. If I was out in your corner giving you a bit of advice, telling you which direction to go, maybe that might help you. Tyler Bates like, well, I haven't managed to beat him thus far. Anything's worth a shot.
Well, this is the thing. And when he did, kind of beat him before, it was when A-Kid was just starting out. And this guy is really on the kind of upward trajectory of it. And we can see how good he is. I've always been a bit worried about the personality, but especially when you're kind of protected in this Heritage Cup, you don't really see him much. It doesn't matter.
And these beautiful exchanges between these blokes as well, you can certainly tell it is two blokes certainly wanting to kind of get the better out of themselves, but kind of bring the best out in their opponent as well, because I'm sure Tyler Bate, as annoyed that he would be of losing it to A-Kid, he'd be happy in a way, look, I've put my name to that. He's got the Tyler Bate stamp of approval.
Well, I find interesting as well is that Bate will relate to A-Kid because of the fact of, Bate was young, 19, when he won the UK tournament, won the championship. Exactly the same as A-Kid, who's come along, won the Heritage Cup at a very young age. And Bate's probably looking at him going, mate, you've got this sorted out, but I was on that, there. And like I said, he's trying to maybe help him out. And if A-Kid can beat Bate, maybe he's a bit ahead of the development at that point in time, you see. And another thing I was going to say to you, just about the style. If anybody listening, how does this a British style to it? Do you know what I mean? We talk about the kind of chain wrestling. What makes it a British style, and what are the certain things that they are doing?
I think the flow certainly helps with the British style. These chain moves, they're not sitting there working rest holds. It's forever change. It is like, trying to counter a move that you're in, eventually, trying about 3 or 4 different ways, finally getting a counter, only to be recountered using your body momentum against you. It is, it is free flowing. It is really, it's quite relaxing to watch.
Yeah, it's not boring. Like I said, it's even that, like the drop kicking and a nip up, but it's always trying to connect it, trying to get hold of an arm or a leg, or trying to work that somehow. Like the collar and elbow type is such an easy hold, but actually means something in this one because they're kind of fighting for control.
It is, and it's not like one person's got the collar and elbow type and it's pushing it, it's going backwards and forwards, having a corner man, getting a drink and a breather in between rounds, trying to get some information whilst trying to catch your breath, whilst trying to focus on what you're going to do for the next round. There's a lot more to it than just going out there and wrestling a 20-minute, 15-minute match.
I was going to say, and the crazy thing is 6 minutes now have gone, and it's kind of flown by just because they're still trying to fill each other out. It's not like they've been wasting time or anything like that. They're trying to find a way in, and then once they can maybe take advantage.
Yeah, and if I was point scoring this, I'll be point scoring at 0-0. You know, no man has got the better of the other man. No man has kind of been out on top. No man has been down on his feet. You know, no man has got any big
strikes in thus far, and it is. But you know, an impact is being made in this match. It's not as if they've been standing across the ring, kind of like circling around each other. They have been locking up. They have been tying up. They've been exchanging. They've been trying to find a weak point in their opponent. You know, maybe it's the wrist, maybe, you know, the knee, and you know, just the way they go through discovering. You know, round 3 is going to be about kind of Tyler Bate looking to get the elbow or to get the wrist lock.
But as I said, it's an excellent point as well because of what they're doing, and it shows you the kind of respect that they have and the closeness of the relationship that they haven't gone striking yet. You know, they haven't really laid hands, and maybe it's a bit more about a kind of ego thing as well for both men wanting to out wrestle the kind of other one as well. So it's interesting that Bate now is maybe you say Bate's turning up a little bit, and then Akid is literally right back on the back.
And this is, I don't know, to me it doesn't a wrestler's calling it. I think this is kind of like two men in the ring. Right, what can you do? And these are actually going for it, but they're kind of making it a bit more flamboyant.
Well, and this is the thing, and you can see now, even with that, this submission attempt, Bate managed to get out of it. And this is exactly what they used to do when they were kind of, you know, training as well. And there you go.
And that is the one shot that you need. And it's kind of put Tyler Bate on the back burner, not able to recover as quickly, and that's A-Kid's way in.
And that's the secret. 8 minutes in as well, and that strike gets a reaction that what a steel chair would get in do you know what I mean, in a hardcore match or something like that.
It's like, you know, in AEW someone's just been busted open to get that reaction, but it's not. It's just like, you know, people are like, oh yeah, you know, you're watching cricket and you're watching ages. It's like single run, duck, single run. And then bang, someone hits a 6 and everyone's on their feet clapping. It's the British way. I might find it boring, but it's actually so poetic and beautiful the way they've been building up to that huge strike.
Well, and what's interesting about it as well is A-Kid came back in, Bate caught him with the uppercut. And he said, you want to play those games, let's go to it.
And Bate has switched up, he's gone to like an MMA style, a couple of kicks, and then just flies towards A-Kid, takes him over the top rope, and you know, you're kind of at the back end of round 3, and this is where it starts. You know, you've had the start of a slow burn. This is a match taken out, but with breathers in between as well. But they kind of add to the match. Yeah,
without a doubt. And now it goes to the break, both men still outside. And Bate's going to wonder, you know, if this ends in a draw, then A-Kid will retain. So it's going to be interesting to see what Tyler Bate can do.
They're trying to make the most of their breather, taking on some vital liquids.
But Nicky, you can see there, look, Trent Seven is in the corner, giving him not only the water, but giving him the advice, telling him a few things to do.
He's saying, look, that worked, go for that again, fix it up to the MMA, it was working just at the end, you took him out.
Well, look at the body language as well.
Look, straight out, sorry.
I was about to say, look at the body language. A-Kid in the corner now, he was barely trying to get up, you know, Bate knew this, that's probably what Seven said. A-Kid had no one in his corner, and now Bate's got on the attack. And the action's picked up now because of that strike earlier.
That is it. It's like Bates going with what works. You know, he wasn't out wrestling him. It was going to a stalemate. Right, let's change it up a bit of MMA. But A-Kid's managed to land a Inseguri to the side of Bates' head, though. It slowed him down. And I think A-Kid wants to turn this back into a wrestling match. He was getting out fought.
Right, doubt. But you can see a nice power move there from A-Kid. You talk about Bate and his power, but A-Kid impressing. And you see, maybe Bate, though, might have overspent himself in that early going.
Well, I think Tyler was just drawing him into the corner up top. But no, A-Kid had it scouted into a backslide for the cover, only a 2 count.
2.
And now A-Kid trying to tie up Tyler Bate. He manages to wrestle him up onto his shoulders. Helicopter spin. But A-Kid managing to slide down onto the back with a sleeper. What can Tyler Bate do from here? Not a lot. A couple of wrenches from A-Kid, drops Bate to his knee. Trent Seven's trying to shout advice, but I don't know how much Tyler Bate can take on board.
Well, that was interesting from A-Kid. Maybe he thought he couldn't get him down with the sleep hold, so he's changed to a kick, but still couldn't get Bate. now goes straight back to it, and there's no wasted motion here from either man at this moment in time.
Absolutely not. No, A-Kid certainly is not going to sleep on Tyler Bate. He knows exactly what his mentor is capable of.
Now, you talk about being on someone's back. If you're on the back as well, you can avoid most of the moves that Bate might do.
Well, you can't avoid that turnbuckle, and jumping off the second rope, you jump straight into an uppercut and give Tyler Bate the edge back in this match.
Well, I think A-Kid might have lost one of his teeth, and there was Bate.
Tyler Bate got A-Kid up. No, A-Kid with a guillotine and the grapevine as well.
No, he's got Bate in serious trouble here. Bate's trying to roll out, but he's rolled into it.
Head first on the mat.
Well, if Tyler taps out, he faces an immountable mountain to climb.
But Bate back up to a vertical base, trying to turn this round, power A-Kid up into a suplex, and lands it as a brain buster as well. Absolutely beautiful.
Well, can he get the cover? Can he get it in time?
Time limit.
Time ran out.
That's the thing. It could have been a pinfall victory right there, but I didn't even notice the clock running down. I'm so into the match. I'm like, what the fuck's the ref doing?
Well, there you go. Another break, but you got to think. Again, look at body language in either corner. Bate is crawling back, but A-Kid's in serious trouble as well. He's got no one to talk to him.
I don't know. His trainer might be a friend. It might be someone who's actually in his corner, not just a corner man.
Well, you can see the Heritage Cup shining as we look on to find out who will be the champion after this. We're into the 5th round already. And the wear and tears, you can tell on both men at this moment in time.
Well, Tyler Bate didn't come charging out this time.
Bate again, just beautiful. Trying to get control.
Nice hip toss, fighting for control. A-Kid each time managing to get the shoulder up.
A-Kid now managing to bridge up. Get themselves to the top rope.
Whoa.
But Bate now just showing sheer strength.
Fucking hell.
Gets it with a German.
That was absolutely brutal. Only getting a 2 count though.
2. And Bate and A-Kid definitely impressing here tonight. That's Trent Seven now looking on saying maybe Tyler Driver. That's what he's going to look for now on A-Kid.
Yeah, you called it. But A-Kid wise to it. Floating out.
Oh,
wow, swinging back using his body weight to get a pinfall attempt. Bate managing to bridge out. Turns it round. Tyler Driver. No. Powerbomb.
Yes, hits it. 2. No.
A-Kid managing to kick out.
God. A-Kid. I don't think Tyler Bate can believe that A-Kid's still in this matchup.
Tyler Bate going to dig deep though, going up top. A-Kid still prone on the canvas.
Oh my God, and Bate's going to risk it all. Oh, corkscrew splash missed.
Straight into an armbar from A-Kid. Bate managing to grasp his fingers together.
No, turning it around into a pinfall attempt. A-Kid wise to it. Still trying to grab the left arm of Bate.
Well, you can see the hammer fist now by Bate. Loosening submission. Went for it again.
Comes flying in but gets caught. What's that, like Rings of Saturn?
Yeah, he's looking for the submission. It's how he won the Heritage Cup. Thank you, Andy Shepherd.
Oh, there's 26 seconds on the clock. I'm keeping me on it this time. I don't want to be caught out like that.
Well, he's struggling, but he's nowhere near, and the arm getting stretched.
Getting wrenched back. Trent Seven going to throw the towel in for his buddy.
Don't do it, Seven.
Don't do it. He can hold on. Don't.
And A-Kid's got the leg again.
Is it worth it?
Bate's fighting. 1 second.
No. It looked like Trent Seven was close to throwing it in. He immediately gets into the ring.
Well, Trent Seven there might look at Bate.
He can't get tagged in this time, mate. He can only be there in an advisory capacity.
Well, like we said, Bate's there for his friend. There's nothing he can do, but he's got to offer his support.
He's saying, don't throw the towel in. Don't. Whatever happens, don't throw the towel in.
And now A-Kid, you talk about body language the past couple of rounds, Dan. Going to the 6th round here. A-Kid looking fresh as a daisy on the side. And Bate is really, really struggling.
Well, he didn't even manage to take any water on board. But Bate rolling out the way, dodging a drop kick as well. His left arm seems to be in a bit of pain. But A-Kid going straight to the leg.
Well, now look, just a straight kick from A-Kid, maybe showing a bit of an experience. But he's got the leg trying to crank it.
Jumping over.
Yeah!
Springboard clothesline. Absolutely beautiful.
And now he's got A-Kid. Can he get him?
No. Hurricane Rana. 2.
No.
Bate managing to get the shoulder up at 2.
2. Well, A-Kid asking the referee if that was the right count there.
But dodging A-Kid's kick, hits him with a huge right hand. But gets caught with a super kick in response. Roll up attempt. But Bate with
2, 3. He got it.
Tyler Bate has got the Heritage Cup.
Tyler Bate managing A-Kid. Can't believe it. Got caught. Oh, the young man must be devastated.
Well, he's had to suffer defeat. And this could be the defeat needed to make him the more rounded man.
Well, but what a performance by A-Kid there. If you didn't know who he was before, Dan, or anybody else, then definitely watch this match with Tyler Bate. What do you think about the former champion? The 6-month reign is over.
I think it's been absolutely brilliant. Just the story told in this match was absolutely perfect. From the first round, the feeling out process. The second round was even the same. You know, and then it changed up the third round, and then Tyler Bate coming out, and then A-Kid coming out strong. They both had their moments. They both had their adrenaline rushes. But A-Kid, will he present it? Will he be the noble gentleman?
Well, we saw him earlier, and he realises now Bate deserves it. And what a nice moment that is. And for such a young man, what a nice show of respect.
Absolutely brilliant from the young man.
And Tyler Bate becomes the very first man to hold the NXT UK Heavyweight and Heritage Cup. And what a moment it is. And maybe this is a renaissance.
And NXT Tag Team.
I think he's a former NXT champion. I'm not sure about NXT UK. But the success of Bate, this might be a renaissance here for him to really start going. The question is, how much did Trent Seven help him? And what a great match that was, Dan. What do you think of Tyler Bate and his performance here tonight?
I think he's had an absolutely brilliant performance, having his buddy in the corner. You know what it's like when you've got a friend by your side, James, helping pull you through the dark side. And he's been a resurgence through his mate Tyler Bate. He knew Bate had it in him all along, and he just needed his friend there to help bring it out of him.
Right, Dan. And the other thing, Dan, how good was that? And this is the thing, NXT UK. People who might not watch it and that, it's an hour long. But it is, you get matches like this every week. I've been hooked from this since it came back. And the BT Sports Studios, the setting of it as well. It's full, even though there's no crowd, it's still really good, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? You still get into it, obviously. You can hear it down on the commentary there.
I was getting quite excited. I was loving that match.
So we move on to May 27th.
Well, Andy Shepherd and Nigel McGuinness welcome fans to WWE NXT UK. We kick things off with some high-flying action from Nathan Frazier, and he's going up against Shah Samuels, who's got Noam Dar in his corner.
And the theme's pretty cool as well. Yeah, I quite like the theme. I think it's quite, it's got a catchy ring to it, It
is good. Yeah, I think it's got an old-school vibe to it. I think that's a brilliant thing about it. And it's in London.
In London, BT Studios.
Just down the road.
Where we see the majority of stuff happen. And like I said, with the setting and the amount of screens and how developed it is, it is good to see NXT UK still being quite big. And like I said, what a huge episode we have tonight, of course, Gradwell and Trent Seven later, you yogurt. But Nathan Frazier, Shah Samuels. And of course, you've seen Shah Samuels before, Dan, before NXT UK. We're going to get on to that. But first up, Nathan Frazier. How much do you know about this young man?
Little to enlighten me.
Yeah, without doubt. So this is Nathan Frazier. He's had a name change because he used to be Ben Carter.
Ben Carter.
He did wrestle for AEW. Yeah, he was the guy that actually signed for NXT UK. So isn't that a bit of a surprise where you might have had opportunity at AEW, but he decided he's grown up, been trained by Seth Rollins. That's where he's come from, basically. He wanted to come back to the UK and learn more of the British style because he's known more of American. So that's not a bad way to go about your business, really, isn't it?
Absolutely not. No, if there's good ways of making your name in the business, and I think going this route, there's no reason why not.
No, exactly. You work from your way up. You see him losing to Noam Dar last week as well, as we spoke about. Thanks in part to Shah Samuels. But Dan, Shah Samuels, I mean, what are the things that you do like about him, shall we say?
I just like his character. He don't give a flying fuck. He's he's just loud. He's a proper brash London geezer, isn't he?
East. And Shah Samuels, like I said, the character that he's got should work in NXT UK really, really well. And Noam Dar, and like I said, the association between the two, kind of big and little man, but he's lost none of his arrogance, has he, as Shah Samuels?
No, not at all. And
he's working the crowd. There's no crowd.
I know, but a lot of the people that I've seen And, like, you know, I'll be like, I'm fucking glad he's made it. And he's one of them blokes. I'm really surprised that Lord Gideon Grey hasn't made it to either AEW or NXT UK, but we'll cross that bridge when he does eventually get signed and recognised. Lord Gideon Grey.
Well, of course, like we talk about Rev Pro back in the day, when you think about how stacked that roster was, even with people like Shah Samuels, like I said, Rampage Brown, now Dar involved as well. All those guys at that time. Little did we know, Dan, that this NXT UK thing would happen, and now we're getting Shah Samuels versus Nathan Frazier. It is great. I mean, we'll blow ourselves a little bit later on, but what do you think of Fraser? Because I'm quite impressed with his kind of look and his appearance, you know, everything going for him at the moment.
He looks very American. I think he looks too American, you know, if he wants to kind of... I don't mean kind of going like Tensai did when he went to Japan for a little while, you know, that kind of... But, you know, at least tone it down a bit, because he does look really American. I think that's... Look.
Well, it's funny they
flipping across the ring as well. It's like even though Andar's like, what a dickhead.
Yeah, that Dar has been brilliant, and it's his humour where I think if some American fans saw him, they wouldn't really understand, you know. But I think when you talk about, I think we talked about in the women's match, like who's main roster ready. I think something like Shah Samuels and Andar would work so well because the consistency of the kind of the funniness that they could bring as well. Like Dar just thinks he's a dafty. Do you know what I mean? Like that's the type of thing that they do, and then Shah kind of and he's not going to be happy because his suspender's broken.
Nah.
But Fraser goes flying. I think like maybe Brian Kendrick-esque, do you know what I mean? In that kind of spanky look. You know?
Yeah, well, what, someone that can get thrown about quite easily.
No, as in what he looks like kind of now, what he maybe wants to evolve to, if you know what I mean. Like, it would be interesting to see. Whereas Shah Samuels, like, he's perfect, but he's going to be a guy to beat, not the guy to beat. But you never know with Shah. I never thought he'd make it to WWE, I will be fair to say.
No, yeah, with Shah Samuels, he's gonna be the guy that you've got to beat to get to the guy. He's not gonna be the top man. I think a mid card run is probably all he's gonna be capable of, or maybe a tag team run.
But like I said, I never thought maybe he'd be signed, so it's a little bit of a surprise there. And to be fair to him, he looks in great shape when you consider he's been wrestling for 22 years. Like the story of him being called the butcher of the East End is because his family, East End Butcher, are all butchers, and he used to do that as a job, when he was wrestling. So, when you used to see him doing the local shows, as you've seen in front of 50 people, he was going out and working 9 to 5 as well. So the journey of Shah you talk about, especially with the UK scene, definitely deserves it. It's just a shame there's not that he can mug off. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely, but once they do get in front of a crowd, they're going to have so much ammunition for him, so it's going to be bang, bang, bang. And, again, with all these, Noam Dar, I mean, he's not going to be stood there. He's going to be goading the front row crowd. He's going to be getting in their face. He's going to be calling them mugs and all that, isn't he? So he's going to be dafty. He'll be dafty.
And like I said, it works the other way around. And I can see Dar and Shah work as a tag team as well. I think that'd
Dar
be
and Shah.
That'd be
just goes.
Yeah, I think that'd be quite cool. Obviously, I'm not going to introduce you to Pretty Deadly this month, Dan, because your reaction to it is going to be very negative. So we'll wait till next month to do that. But the thing about it is that I think these two guys could work. And I think, I can't see it working as a face team, I will be fair to say.
But I can see it working as a team that are heels, but the fans absolutely love. They're going to be... in fact, things like that. And the amount of... If they was on like Raw or SmackDown, the amount of things that the American WWE fans are going to pick up from them, it's going to be absolutely brilliant. And like, you mugs, and it's going to be the suspender belts as well. I think that's going to get brilliant. The scarves. And yeah, just their general personas.
And another thing I like about it as well, general personas, like Noam Dar as well. Someone who's so underrated, and he goes, "No, I know how rated I am. I know how good I can be, but I want to be in NXT UK. I want to kind of help it out. It might be the same as a Tyler Bate as well. It might be the same as, like we say, Nathan Fraser's come down here, Charles Samuels, and it's going to build a great division. Like you see, these are guys who could be mid card. They can be, main event level, and it's just building them up as well, isn't it, with little feuds?
Absolutely, yeah. It's getting a bit of recognition, Maybe one fan sees it, it's like, oh, this is actually quite good. It's like with wrestling. He's told his mate, they've told a couple of others, and then, they've got a little group of them that enjoy talking about NXT UK.
That's what I'm saying, and this is how easy it is to pick up as well, and you can see, you know how good it is when you've got these kind of level of matches. Shah Samuel's a guy. These are two guys, a completely different spectrum. You know, like one guy who's dedicated his craft to the UK scene for the past 2 decades compared to a guy that's just come over recently and wants to prove it. And is there any better way of proving than earning your stripes and taking a beating from someone like Shah Samuels?
Yeah, but again, I don't want to see Shah Samuels become the Cassius Ohno of NXT UK.
Yeah, that's great.
You know, that would absolutely be a waste of Shah Samuels' talent. I would love to see him become the NXT UK champion one day.
Oh.
I think that would be absolutely brilliant. But, you know, he's someone that would certainly deserve it.
Yeah, I think without doubt, and I think I've seen the phrase as well. I mean, he's playing a good babyface in Peril at the moment. You know, he's taking a beating well. He's selling all right. Like I said, very Americanized about it. But when you've got people, you know, backstage that are going to teach you a few things, a few tricks as well.
But then, like, you know, you watch his first match and you watch this match, there's probably, like, a few things he might have picked up in the time since then, you know. So you could, like, kind of notice his progression going out, you know, and then about 3 or 4 months' time when he's had about a dozen matches,
Yeah.
you'll see a lot more of a British strong style about him.
Well, but this is the thing, and working matches with Shah Samuels and Noam Dar, he's going to teach you that British style pretty fucking quickly. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're going to have to kind of hang and do what they do as well. You see Fraser now making his babyface comeback. And it's weird to see Shah without the suspense, but I suppose he did have no choice.
He doesn't actually look like Shah Samuels without them suspenders. I know he's got the high-waisted trunks, but nah, Shah, without them braces.
Well, Fraser there taking Shah down and then looking straight at Noam Dar.
Then Noam Dar's face, trying to distract him long enough, and Shah makes his way up to his feet, but does he get caught in the eye?
Well, that's what he's saying.
I think it was just a distraction tactic. Noam Dar getting taken out, though.
Well, Dar failing a little bit, but he's coming into the ring.
Perfect distraction tactic, though. All eyes are on Dar as Shah with a roll-up. Handful of tights. No, kick out.
Well, Dar gets thrown out, and that's the referee that we met as well, Dan. That's the guy I forgot to ask who he was. Oh my God!
Wow, that was certainly not English. A 360 straight over the top.
That was incredible. There was a replay of Fraser flying. Talk about a vertical leap there. And the landing wasn't smart. But like I said, he is a really talented guy. He throws Shah in, trying to finish now.
Looking to springboard. Crossbody, but Samuels. Sit out. 2. No. Oh, Fraser managing to keep himself in this match. For now, at least.
Well, Shah gave his best shot. Couldn't put Fraser down, and now going to try.
Hook. No, Fraser fighting it. Going between the legs. Roll up on Samuels. 1, 2. No.
Oh, Shah, big and powerful, managed to kick out. Grabs the boot of Fraser, but Nathan just too quick.
Springboard turns it into a just elbow driven to the chest.
Well, this man is quick. Goes up top, frog splash. This might be it.
1, 2, 3.
Yeah, job done there, Nathan Fraser. Quick as a hiccup. Dan, what are your thoughts on that?
Wasn't expecting Fraser to get the victory, to be honest with you. I think them braces do hold a superpower. And when Shah Samuels is not with his braces, he gets beaten.
Well, not without Dar as well. But what are your thoughts on Nathan Fraser? Are you impressed by what he was doing? I mean, obviously we love Shah Samuels, but this wasn't a bad outing for the young man, was it?
No, very, very impressive, man. We didn't really get to see much of his talent showcase because I think for the majority of the match he was on the receiving end of a beatdown. But when he was flying off the top with that lovely frog splash, getting a victory over Shah Samuels, I mean, Cassius Ohno-esque. I said it during the match.
But the thing is with Shah, he's so over as a heel, he'll just brush this off and continue. So we go backstage and Danny Luna runs into Ginny and Joseph Connors. Flash Morgan Webster finds Luna in time and they leave. Ginny and Connors want a match with Luna and Webster.
Well, backstage, Noam Dar is not happy from ringside. He wants to settle things with Nathan Fraser.
Well, up next we get Ashton Smith versus Tierman.
Well, Tierman hits a series of nasty chops for a 2 count.
2.
Smith plants 2 shoulder tackles.
2.
Smith continues with a gut wrench suplex for another near fall, then hoists Tierman up, and then he escapes from the side and locks in a crossface. Smith tries to hold on, but the pain in his shoulder intensifies. Smith then taps out. So Tierman picks up the submission victory.
Yeah, well, so Smith was okay, but he's got a very slim frame, which I always remember JR in Beyond the Mat saying to the guy, going, "You need work on your body, kid," like that, and I just got that vision in my head. But Tierman growing on me, working on the arm, very similar to Andrade in that kind of style, and even look maybe a little bit like a European CN, shall we say.
I'm sorry, who?
Andrade de la Halado, wherever he's called now in AEW, but
excuse me!
we'll talk about that at different times. Good stuff. And Tierman put Ashley Smith in another crossface, but Oliver Carter runs out to defend Smith. Of course, he's his tag team partner.
Backstage, we see Ilya Dragunov, and he's ready to face Noam Dar next week. He wants to prove that he's changed, but he will bring the violence if need be.
Well, Jack Stars is sitting to talk to someone on the phone. He gets off it and sees Pretty Deadly. Pretty Deadly want to show off their new NXT UK Tag Team title side plates. They also taunt Stars, but he's sick and tired of their cockiness. He wants a match. Pretty Deadly say they're wrestling, but he first needs to find a partner.
Up next, a newly revived Kenny Williams returns to action.
Yeah, he's taken on Andy Wilde. Kenny Williams stays on top of Andy Wilde throughout the match. Williams rakes the eyes, but created more of an advantage to punish him with several nasty kicks to the hamstring. He looks for the cover and Wilde managing to kick out. And Williams continues to focus on Wilde's injured leg.
Wilde rocks Williams with two big strikes and a belly-to-belly suplex. Cover. Williams fights out and Wilde can't get a German suplex. Williams hits a mule kick and sends Wilde out of his misery with a wicked DDT.
So Kenny Williams is your winner. New look Kenny. Andy Wilde, yes, he was furious after losing. Wilde, a slightly husky fellow, a la Trent Seven.
Hello, James. Trent Seven.
Hello, Trent Seven. But how far can Kenny go with a new package, Dan? That is a question. The clean shaven, changing it up now, short pants. What do you think? Is he someone to look for the Heritage Cup next?
Well, you know, a haircut and a change of appearance can do a man a lot of wonders, James. So maybe he can reach out and grasp everything he's been looking for.
You yogurt. I'm just saying that because Sam Gradwell's in the main event. But in 2 weeks' time, Miko Setmore and Kaylee Ray will square off in a highly anticipated rematch for the NXT UK Women's Championship. And, of course, we'll bring that on the next NXT UK we do next month. So again, Dan, how huge is that for next month, eh? Kaylee Ray versus Miko Satomura.
Absolutely huge, and it is for the NXT Women's Champion.
Yes. So now it's time for the main event. It is Trent Seven versus Sam Gradwell. And Sam Gradwell, how long have I been telling you about Sam Gradwell for, Dan?
You've been calling me a yogurt for ages, James.
Well, he's brilliant. He is brilliant. And you talk about main roster ready. Gradwell is that. I mean, look at him, Dan. Look how impressive this man is. You see, with the physique coming out here and the mohawk, he's tight and ripped, as you would say, and he is ready for action here against a guy I know I love Trent Seven, don't get me wrong, but Gradwell is the man, and he's calling me yogurt, and I'll tell you why he's upset with him in a minute.
Well, he's not the first one, me, of a member of the young ones, especially with that denim jacket. I mean, if he had a couple of stars on his head.
Fucking hell. So the thing is that how long do you think Sam Gradwell's been in the next UK? And it's a bit of a leading question.
2 years.
So we count Trent Seven as a founding father, yeah? Indeed. Well, Gradwell signed the exact same day as he did during him. And Gradwell suffered an injury. You see the brace over the left knee? That kept him out of action for nearly a year. And he's made his return. He feels like he's not getting the respect that he deserves because he's a founding father, much like Seven. Whereas Trent Seven, of course, is coming off a loss, a huge devastating loss against Jordan Devlin for the Cruiserweight Championship. He even lost weight to beat that weight and still couldn't get the job done. So we talked about Tyler Bate in the last episode. Trent Seven needs a victory because of this, and Gradwell wants to win. What are your thoughts on that?
I think Trent Seven has taken far too many knockbacks in his career. You know, I don't know how much more he can take, and especially someone who's always in the corner of his friend, and his friend seems to be absent for this time being. Is that maybe a things of like, you know, is Trent Seven giving more to this tag team partnership with Tyler Bate than Tyler Bate's giving to him?
I just think, does Trent Seven deserve the respect that Tyler Bate gets? You know, is Seven, you know, is he on the level of a Dunn or a Bate, you know, or someone like Sam Gradwell's been around? When does he deserve his opportunity? Is he keeping opportunities away from other people?
Well, everyone is certainly due an opportunity, and in NXT UK, I think everyone gets a chance to have their opportunity if they so request it. So I think, this is a kind of a good match between these two guys. Both think they deserve a bit more recognition. Both feel that, they can go that one step beyond where they go. So why not face off against each other? Why not see who the man is? Why not see who the next big thing is?
Can I say something crazy? Don't slate me for this, but would NXT UK be wrong using something like rankings? Especially when it's like this, with the people that we've seen. Look at Shah Samuels, look at Fraser, look at Gradwell, look at Seven. Would these be like heavyweight contention? Would they be Heritage Cup? And where would they be? Even if it's like a top 10 of wrestlers, I think would that make more sense?
Well, no, because they only rely on rankings when it suits them. Sometimes ranking means everything. Sometimes ranking means absolutely diddly squat. It just depends on the circumstance. It depends on the person. And that's why I think AEW have kind of drift away from it from time to time, but then come back to it so you don't forget about it. It's something there that suits them, and I don't think they should bring in something for the purposes of, using it just for when it suits them and when they want to.
I suppose so, but it'd be interesting with Gradwell. I mean, does he deserve an opportunity? Like I said, the thing with NXT UK and the treat of it being an hour as well and not kind of oversaturating the champions, is you get these feuds. We talked about Kenny Williams having his feud, and Amir Jordan having to leave NXT UK to start again. Gradwell now here having his problems with that. Dar and Shah in a feud with kind of Fraser at the moment. The stuff that went on with Bate and Akid. There's all chance for people to have, rivalries with each other, but should it mean something? Like you said, if he wins this, should he go up the rank, or what opportunity should he have?
I think he should. If someone else is kind of like on a bit of a hot run, then Sam Gradwell's going to obviously have to go against them to see who the top dog out of them two is. And then when it kind of gets to a certain point where there is only one next logical opponent for, say, Sam Gradwell or Trent Seven, if whoever wins
can go as high as they can, then they have to go against Walter for the NXT UK Championship.
Well, that's what I'm saying. At the moment, you look at Joe Coffey, you look at Rampage Brown, they're going to have their big match. You would argue that whoever wins that, or whoever wins the feud after that, would have to face him again. But Gradwell's never lost to Walter, but he's never faced him. He came up short against Dragunov, but that's only because he unleashed the beast. And now again, it's like Gradwell trying to build himself up by beating a guy who, if he beats him, it's quite a big victory again.
It is, yeah, especially with someone who's got the ability that Trent Seven has. But, what's next for Sam Gradwell after this? Will he go against Tyler Bate? I mean, Tyler Bate, he's on a bit of a hot run. He's just won the Heritage Cup. Why doesn't he deserve another shot?
No, that's an excellent, exactly. But isn't that the good thing about NXT UK as well, though? That they can, all have opportunities, and we've seen a lot of talent and a lot. It's all good. It's not bad, is it?
So who has got Walter in their crosshairs at the moment? Who is in the next champion, or is this what we're hoping to find out through these episodes of NXT UK?
Well, the thing is, at the moment, Joe Coffey and Rampage Brown, they face each other once. Brown's come out on top once. So whatever happens in this matchup, you would assume if Brown wins, he'd face Walter. But like I said, he's come up short against him at Prelude. Coffey's come up short against him as well. So then if you're looking at challenges, Dragunov. But again, the reason why Dragunov is on the run he is at the moment is due to what Walter did to him. He's the mental equivalent of throwing him out of a car. And that's why that story is so interesting. And it's crazy that someone like Noam Dar would get in Dragunov's face and ask that problem. But Gradwell did it, and when Gradwell slapped him in that match, he knew he did wrong. So Gradwell's a guy who's intelligent, and he knows who he's picking. So he's picked Seven now, because he thinks he's a beatable target. Because he bit off more than he could chew with Aya, and now he's gone back down the order, so to speak.
And that's, I think that's how it should be. He respects the people that are above him, the people that come before him. So he's like, right, I can't get to that pinnacle, so I'm going to work my way back up. Trent Seven, if you can get a bit of momentum against Trent Seven, then, I get to move up to Tyler Bate, who's on a bit of a run, or maybe Akid, who's done well with the Heritage Cup. But if he doesn't beat Trent Seven, then he's going to have to go down even lower in the pecking order. Who's he going to go against?
Well, I mean, Stars and people like that next, isn't it? So that's the guy. But even Jack Stars, he's got an NXT Tag Team title opportunity if he finds the right partner. So this is the thing where, if you pick up a few wins, like with Jack Stars, it was Piper Niven getting behind him and giving him the right words, a bit like Seven was doing to Bate. And it now looks like Seven's maybe trying to turn this match around. It's been all Gradwell for for the majority of it, but Seven then flying, and you get a bit surprised by a guy. He paints himself as an old man, really, doesn't he, Trent Seven? You see him flying around.
He does. I think he even dyes his hair grey. I think he's actually a brunette.
Well, he's going up now, risking it all.
Oh. Well, it wasn't pretty, but it would have been effective had he hit it, but Sam Gradwell spotted it coming a mile off and managed to move out the way.
And you can see now the vision of Gradwell checking that leg.
I think Mustache Mountain should gain a new member, Sean Waltman. There could be
6-7 bait.
Do you know what? That's quite funny. What's not funny is Trent Seven in serious trouble with a submission in the middle of the ring. Just damaged that leg coming off the top. Seven, though, using all of his experience to turn him round.
For a bit closer to the ropes, but choosing to chop his way out and going for that knee brace, helping him get some more leverage on that knee.
Well, certainly in a lot of pain here.
Well, that's the weak spot. You talk about weak mentally for Gradwell. That's the one thing he worries about with his leg and missing that much action. And you know about injuries, Dan. If you get one and they accumulate, you can miss 2 or 3. Look at Tegan Knox with the torn ACLs, missing 3 years of action because of this. And this is what Seven is targeting right now.
Well, absolutely. When needs must, you got to kind of focus on someone's weak point, and if you know it, and then if he's got a bandage around it, you're not going to miss the thing.
Well, this is saying, but Gradwell has got the power, and he just needs to try and maybe get things back together. The huge forearm shot to Seven.
It drops him off the apron. Now Gradwell's going to go and follow him to the outside. He does look mean, but I just hate that mohawk thing. I think it looks absolutely ridiculous.
That's what I quite like about it, that it does look a bit cheap with that.
No, I think it looks silly.
You think a more serious cut?
If it was a wider one, or if if he was a skinhead or something, it'd probably be better, but it's just such a pathetic, weedy little... It's like bloody Ronaldo's fringe thing. Remember that? It's like not even a mohawk.
But he is, like I said, he has got that look, hasn't he?
He certainly has got that look, but he looks a bit like Kyle O'Reilly's long-lost twin brother.
Oh, don't say. I think he's twice the size. Maybe I'm just...
in the face.
That's what I'm saying. You don't. I'm trying to visualise not now, but I was saying with Gradwell, he's still a big man as he's risking it, though. He went to the outside, diving off the apron there, dangerous. Now
well,
going
Gradwell, O'Reilly and Thatcher. They could create the handsome trio.
Well, he's trying to rearrange Seven's look, but Trent's not having any of it. They're fighting off the top now. Looking for a superplex, but Gradwell fighting him off.
Both men perched on the second rope. Well, Gradwell looks to throw Trent Seven to the outside. I've never seen that before in my life.
Well, Gradwell doesn't care. Seven manages to survive it.
It's caught with a shot that was across the neck.
You can see the red marks as well, all over Gradwell's body. And now Seven looking for a superplex.
Trent Seven immediately into a cover. 2. No, Gradwell managing to kick out.
I don't think we see that enough. Good positioning. It's so weird. I've moaned about this before, where like you powerbomb someone halfway across the ring. Well, how's that going to help a pinfall?
Yeah.
It's like keep them close. We saw that with the suplex there, nice and tucked in, so then Seven could literally just straight into the cover.
That's it, yeah. They go for effectiveness over flamboyance. So, Brock Lesnar's thrown you across the ring and outside it, but you've got time to recover while Brock Lesnar's sweating one out.
The whole point is for you to win the match, like you want to try and pin him, and that chest of Gradwell's in serious trouble.
I think that's that part of the beauty of it as well. It's like the suplex and the float over. It's kind of all one synchronised move.
And now maybe looking for the ripcord.
Ripcord lariat, but Gradwell intelligently grasping hold of the top rope. Ripcord forearm of his own. Looked like it knocked some of Trent Seven's teeth out, but thankfully it was only his gum and not his gums.
7 is out. That's it. 2. No,
2.5.
2. Gradwell looks like he's needed tears. He can't believe it. Don't be such a yoghurt. Referee not counting, and now he's picking up Trent on his shoulders, but...
Elbow to the jaw.
And 7 put his head in a bit of trouble. And those elbows came down from Gradwell.
Elbow in the jaw of Trent. Oh, huge forearm to the back of the head. Gradwell's got 7 up.
And he puts him down. But he managing to kick out. Now both men down. And Gradwell wondering what's it going to take. He thought Trent Seven was the easy target. And now this man is a bit tougher then he seems...
Well, he's tougher than a $2 steak, James. You know this about Trent Seven.
But look at Gradwell. You can see he's taking it to the level. He's not right either. He's not happy. He's blaming everybody else. Now the big man going up. Let's see what he can do off the top. Oh!
Looking for a splash, but goes into 2 boots. Straight into the ripcord clothesline. Into a cover. 2. No!
Well, Gradwell managing to get the shoulder up at 2.
2.
And Trent Seven can't believe it now. He's the man exasperated. And Gradwell might be breathing through the mouth. You see they're arguing over the founding father state. And both men just with slaps and chops. And now Seven got him up. Burning hammer into the
1,
cover.
2, 3.
Trent Seven gets the victory. Dan,
I like that.
what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I would have been happy with whoever won it, to be honest with you. I think both men put up a hell of a fight. I think Trent Seven certainly does have the right to be called the founding father.
But Sam Gradwell there, very impressive, I think. I mean, I told you I liked him. I mean, what do you think? You're probably going to hate him.
I think he's no. Aside from silly haircut, I think he's certainly a good performer. Definitely got a lot of potential. What does he need to jump up to the next level, though? I think he needs to kind of crisp up his finesse a bit in the ring. I think, he's got a little bit of work to do, but that's why he's in it. Certainly a man that can go a long way.
Well, the thing he's going to find himself is Sam Gradwell is that he's a lot bigger than most of the people in NXT UK. And then you need to wrestle a bit more like Charles Samuels does. He wrestles like a big man. And it's not maybe going up to the top every now and again. And maybe this just shows a bit of experience from Sam Gradwell. He thought it was an easy target with Seven. And Seven proving there's a little bit left in him. Like I said, this can continue now for a feud, and even if Gradwell comes out on top of this, it gives them both something to do as NXT UK kind of continues as well, doesn't it?
Absolutely, yeah, and both men definitely be around the NXT UK division.
I doubt. So we move on to our next episode. It's June 3rd.
Yes, Andy Shepherd and Nigel McGuinness were the broadcast team. Ilya Dragunov made his entrance to kick off this week's NXT UK. Noam Dar entered the BT Sports studio.
Then we're going to start off our first match. It's Ilya Dragunov versus Noam Dar. And Dan, boy, I've been wanting to show you Ilya for quite some time. So for Dan, and I'll say again, Noam Dar is either the bravest man in the entire WWE, nay, professional wrestling, or the stupidest man. He's going against a man, if you slap him accidentally on the back in any way, he will snap. And when he says someone lives rent-free in their head, Volta is there, Ilya is ready. That's all he sees. What do you think of Noam Dar?
Well, he's either incredibly smart or incredibly stupid. I think the next 5 to 10 minutes will probably determine that. Does Noam Dar have a trick up his sleeve? I mean, he's already kind of got to watch his back from what happens in Charles Samuels' match.
Well, the thing is, Charles Samuels is not here, so that is very interesting. That's already maybe an advantage to Ilya. But I mean, you've seen Dragunov before, Dan. Have you ever seen a man as focused as this here? I mean, Ilya is just laser focused on the target in front of him.
I don't think I have, but I've mentioned recently that I've been going to the gym. I think Ilya Dragunov is kind of where I want to end up physically.
Well, Ilya Dragunov is in incredible shape, but the problem is mentally, Dan, he is shot to bits, and this has been the story of what the destruction of that match can do. I mean, it was brutal for Ilya. I mean, honestly, it was a war for him that he hasn't fully recovered from, and this is all he sees in this matchup. He said he's trying not to be that man, but he can't help it. He broke Dave Mastiff's nose in a matchup. Dave Mastiff, Dan, you know how big that guy is, and I just twatted him. It was... The referee called for the bell. It was job done. And now Dar thinks he can go in there and what? Maybe out wrestle him? There's no doubt Dar, huge talent. And like I said, he's not, he doesn't care who rates him.
Well, I think with Noam Dar, it's about to pick up his words. I mean, he's always talked a mean game, but Ilya Dragunov, if Noam Dar was to get the victory over Ilya Dragunov, would it not be more than a shock? Would Ilya Dragunov that not propel Noam Dar to Volta status?
Well, I think without a doubt, you talk about who is going to be next to challenge Volta. The fact is that, like we said, we've got Coffey versus Brown in our main event. And these are another 2 guys. And Dar's been picking up victories, beating Nathan Fraser. You know, victory for him. Having momentum on his side now. And like I said, if he beats Zaya, you'd be very hard pressed. Again, maybe Dar has got the secret. If he can go in the Lion's Den against our Dragunov, then who's betting against going against Volta and beating the man that's held the title for 700 days, you know?
Exactly. I mean, if you can beat someone as unpredictable as Ilya Dragunov, it's certainly perfect training to step into the ring with Volta.
Well, it's unbelievable. There's no doubt, like I said, Dar is a great talent. He's trying to keep it short and sweet at this time.
Ilya Dragunov, though, he's got Noam Dar a bit tied up at the moment.
But it's a thing WWE get accused of, but it's happening in NXT, you know, especially NXT UK. Look at long-term storytelling and things like this. I know we haven't had a takeover, but it was October of last year this happened to Aya. And we're getting it, you know, we're in June now, and you can see the effects in May and June that it's still having on him. It's a great, for me, it's my favourite story at this moment.
Well, again, it's something that instead of being able to capitalise on straight away building it, which I think in some cases it makes for a better story overall. You know, they're obviously waiting to capitalise on a takeover event or something on a bigger stage. But for these 2 guys, I think keeping it as it is, you know, you can see it. And then when it finally does come to the end of these 2 feud, it is going to come off big time and it is going to be a huge payout.
Oh, without a doubt. And you can see that what was happening there. But the thing with Dart, you know, you had a few via earlier. And the thing is, it's like finding an old bomb. You know, you go, oh, an old bomb, oh, okay. And then you start hitting it. And you go, well, you know what's going to happen in a minute. If you keep provoking it, it's like, it's going to go off and there's nothing you can do about it.
Oh, wow. Yeah, Dragunov, though, he kind of done a 619 through the ropes and just immediately dropped to the mat. Dar's capitalised on this, knocked him to the outside. Straight to the floor.
Well, maybe they can do the unthinkable here in NXT UK. We've seen a couple of what maybe you consider upset victories these past couple of weeks. And this is the thing, anybody can beat anybody in NXT UK. As Dan sees the replay there, how bad was it?
Well, I don't know, it looked like he twisted his knee. He could have done some ligament damage.
But we've always talked about that, haven't we? You know, in a company like this, NXT UK, anybody can legitimately beat anybody, obviously apart from the champions. But the champions in NXT UK are kind of, you talk about, you know, a Mount Rushmore, if you American parlance to it, Kaylee Ray and Volta would be up there, wouldn't they, on that?
Absolutely.
On there.
But again, I think this is like, you know, it's not NXT UK purposely keeping the titles on these 2 wrestlers. I think they're choosing the better time to capitalise on it, you know, with NXT UK, where it's relatively new and relatively young, it can kind of tread water. The fans are still getting an amazing product. I mean, the matches that we've seen, you know, they've got the Heritage Cup change in hands as well. So, you know, we've got something to get invested in. We've got, like, you know, a number 1 contender crown. So, you know, we've got that to look forward to as well. So they're waiting for the fan base to kind of come back so more people can enjoy the moment as opposed to, you know, just a select few behind closed doors.
Yeah, I'm just glad there's someone who's actually, do you know what I mean? Of course, you speak to people on Twitter, but to actually watch it, and then, you know, it is such an enjoyable product as well. That the fact is, like, this is what's good about it. And people go, oh, WWE. Well, this is under the WWE umbrella, and it's good shit. And if people aren't paying attention to it, it's their fault, so to speak. You know, there's a lot of other options to watch. If you're bored of Raw or SmackDown, you know, watch something like this. And I never thought Dar would be in control. Look how confident he is right now.
Is this kind of the best that Rev Pro could have hoped for?
In what way?
Well, in way of, like, you know, well, Rev Pro kind of led these guys up. You know, the amount of these people that have been wrestled under the Rev Pro banner, it's like, well, fuck me, if all these wrestlers are coming through, why not check out Rev Pro, catch them before they're big?
Well, this is the thing, but Rev Pro champion right now is Will Ospreay, who was just recently IWGP World Champion, so there's eyeballs on it. But the product itself, it has got quite big, so they're doing events in London where the touring's coming back. Like I said, check them out, but I'd say anyway, even if it's just local wrestling that hopefully is going to start again soon, go and see, because it might just be one guy, and you don't know, and then you can follow that guy throughout his career. Do you know what I mean? It's like Noam Dar, we saw him at that time. We're like, okay, let's just see what he does. You know, with Dar's incredible. The Raw, SmackDown, 205 Live, of course, one of the originals there as well, on NXT and NXT UK. He's been there and done that and still feels fresh as well.
Absolutely, and he's still got his whole career ahead of him.
Man, I now trying to grab that leg, and the kicks by Dar have been on point today, but maybe you think he's calculating where to strike him.
To the chest, but here, Dragunov just drops the elbow straight to the nose of Dar.
Well, Aya's like a battering ram, and like I said, people like Dave Mastiff, and even against Volta, I mean, no one, and not even Pete Dunne, took Volta to the limit like Aya Dragunov did do. And now a nice German suplex, keep connecting. I mean, he's not the biggest guy, but it's just I think both of these guys got energy and personality about them. And
absolutely, and it's kind of that side of him that, you know that he would be capable of doing these kind of things. You know, Eddie Guerrero-esque stuff. He's a kind of similar build to him, and we legitimately believed when he beat Brock Lesnar.
Yes, yeah, I would completely agree with that, and that's what it is, and it's a hint of realism. I think it's what NXT UK kind of bring to it as well, because it's not kind of crazy shit, but it's just technically sound as well, and I think it's because of the British stamp on the product, I think gives it that. And I mean, look at this now. Aya's with the elbows to the face of Dar.
Does Aya Dragunov snap now?
No, not yet.
He's not snapped. This is pre-snap Dragunov.
Yeah. This is annoyed Dragunov. Look at the power of that picking up Dar.
Throwing him. Dar looked like he'd been ejected from a moving automobile.
Well, and Dar is in serious trouble. And he did that with one leg. Imagine what he could do with two.
But that knee looks like it's blown out. Can Dragunov fight through the pain? Does he need to snap to get the victory over Noam Dar?
Well, credit to Dar going head to head, not backing down at all in this one, not looking for an easy way out either. Nice combination.
Here, Dragunov responding in kind though.
Just chops and kicks.
Oh, huge chop from Dragunov, but everything gets a response from the other.
Oh,
Matrix Star from Dragunov responds with a step up enziguri.
It's just a shame there's not a crowd there to stand on their feet and clap. You know, that is the only problem at this moment in time with these two guys. And it's just so good. And I can't talk it up. It's like a takeover. Do you know what I mean? The wrestling itself is such a high standard. It has to be kind of seen to believe. It just feels like I'm chatting shit otherwise. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, yeah. You know, it may seem like we're being biased, being British. I don't know. But it's certainly not worth sleeping on.
No, without a doubt, as Dar fights out.
The 619, this time he manages to connect with a discus lariat. Gets across to the cover. 2. No.
Well, Dar somehow managing to kick out.
And
I think it might be because I didn't hook the leg. But like I said, this is not the psychotic Aya just yet. And that might help Dar. And we might be better off, Dan. A bit like, you know, Bruce the Hulk sometimes. We just need to, you know, let's not make him angry. And let's just have a nice little match. And we can move on.
The sun is setting, big guy.
Yeah, exactly. You know, just.
But then, what if Dragunov can't get angry? What if, like, you know, the big guy doesn't want to come out to play?
Well, that is another question that I don't think he thinks yet. I don't think he can control it at the moment as he misses the top. Dar with a shot.
Oh, Noam Dar so close to getting the victory, but turns it straight into the knee bar.
And we've seen him win with the knee bar before. And Aya's got nowhere to go. Yeah, he's tough, but sometimes you might have to think about fighting another day.
So how do we know when Dragunov has snapped?
Oh,
because it looks like he's snapped now.
No, you'll know. You will know, Dan. I kid you not.
I want to...
Just
can't tell you look like he snapped just then when he was hammer fisting his face.
Look,
I mean, if that's not a man snapping, what the fuck is?
I've said, this is why it's my favourite. As Aya trying to get his knee up.
Knees up, Mother Brown.
Is in serious trouble. Dar might see it exposed.
Oh, just a straight punt to the knee.
And now this might be over.
For the Supernova.
Huge kick to the chest.
Following it up to the thigh, the chest. Following it with a punch. I mean, you said Dragunov's match with Mastiff had to get stopped. What about if Noam Dar had to get stopped in this match with Dragunov?
Well, I'm so impressed by Dar in this one. He's bringing the fight. He's believing what he puts out, and you can't ask for more at this moment in time.
He's trying to lure the beast out. I mean, he's starting to piss him off now.
You don't... Yeah, this is dangerous territory. You don't want to slap him. Uh-oh.
Is that it now? Is this it?
Uh-oh. No, Dar. He's not brought him out, has he? Oh, shit. Don't do it. No, I think... Oh, both men slap each other down. And what an exchange that was. Uh-oh. Eyes up.
He snapped, yeah?
He's just picking him up. No, slams him down. And then
Smashing the knee to the temple.
and then the
Throws
slam.
him inside out. 1, 2. No! Still not enough to Dar down.
Oh, credit to Dar. Oh, yeah.
Have you seen, what is it? It's not Unbreakable. What's the other one in that series? Mr. Glass, Unbreakable. The one where he plays all them characters. Have you not seen that series of films? You should watch them.
Different personalities as he runs into an elbow. And now Dar might be looking to finish things.
No, Dragunov. Was that a headbutt? Straight to the jaw. 2, 3. Fucking hell.
Well, I doesn't care. He uses himself as a weapon.
I tell you what, I'd love to see that go up against the Claymore.
It would be like boom, an explosion.
I mean, like that, headbutting Drew McIntyre, the man who delivers the Glasgow kiss.
Dan, what did you think? I don't think Dar knows where he is. What did you think of that destruction?
I thought that was absolutely brilliant, and Noam Dar absolutely played his part perfectly. The antagonist heel going, far enough to bring that out in Dragunov to make him snap, to take that punishment as well, and even still try after Dragunov has snapped to give everything he had and come so close. But Dragunov, certainly deserves a victory, and I'm definitely digging the Dragunov character.
Well, and it's a great match. And I just needs to calm down and move on now because he's made his point to Dar and Noam could just go to fight another day. But there's no doubt that man may be next in line. And Dan, this would be a main event anywhere else on any other program. But this is just the start of the show. It's just crazy as well when you think about it. But I shout at Dar as we will continue.
Yes, hello and welcome to NXT UK. Follow that, fuckers.
Exactly, yeah. Well, we get a vignette ad for Aoife Valkyrie.
Taya Valkyrie?
No. But Valkyrie's, it's weird that they're using the Valkyrie for Aoife Valkyrie here, who's an Irish superstar, and they have just signed Taya Valkyrie to NXT, and they're calling her Frankie Monet. So maybe if they just waited, they could have just used the name that she had.
Right.
Yeah?
Well, Sid Scala greeted Jordan Devlin back at the door of the BT Sports studio. Devlin demanded his own dressing room, a private parking spot, an appearance of Supernova Sessions, and then he left.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is about it is that Devlin looks like a star now after he had this moment against Santos Esparta takeover, coming back demanding that. And is it interesting, Dan? We talked about the glue that holds NXT UK together. He's asking to be on the Supernova Sessions to make a statement, and of course, Dar, it's a pretty big deal.
So Noam Dar, bless him, he's just been beating the fuck out of Dragunov, and some fucker comes up, he's like, yeah, I want a meeting with him.
Well, up next, Pretty Deadly made their entrance whilst we sort of recap the altercation with Jack Stars last week. Stars made his entrance and introduced his mystery tag team partner, Nathan Fraser. So we're going to get a tag team match right now.
Yes, NXT UK Tag Team Champions, Pretty Deadly, going against Jack Stars and Nathan Fraser. Deadly made a major miscalculation in assuming Jack Stars wouldn't be able to find a suitable partner, as Nathan Fraser joined him to take on the NXT UK Tag Team Champions. Stars and Fraser nearly pulled off a title-winning upset, but Sam Stoker and Lewis Howley's superior chemistry, won out and well-timed tag unseen by Stars led to spilt milk for the victory.
Yeah, I mean, Fraser should be careful. He overshot a dive to the outside. We talked about high flying. Maybe need to tone it down a little bit. But Stars is a classic babyface. Of course, you'll know Jack Stars, Dan, because the handprint of Vault is still on his chest from when he chopped him 2 fucking years ago, or when however long,
yes.
4 fucking years ago.
You can still see his fingerprints on the back of it.
But who will step up to Pretty Deadly? Will it be maybe Subculture? Flash Morgan, Webster, and Mandrews, Gallus, of course.
Mustache Mountain
could always have a chance. So that's the tag teams. I think we'll explore that next month as well and have a look, see who's there to go about. But it was a good match. We see a vignette aired of Tyler Bate playing with nunchucks while wearing blindfold and boasting of his Heritage Cup Championship win. You've got to go careful. You could lose a bollock that way, Dan. We all know that.
Absolutely. That's from a personal experience, I understand, James. Well, Flash Webster Morgan made his entrance, and Joseph Connor's entrance was also shown.
Yeah, into our match, and Joseph Connor's alliance with the Fashionistas once again paid dividends. Like Flash Morgan Webster, Connor's on his heels thanks to several high-risk manoeuvres Ginny made her presence felt, throwing Webster's helmet to Connors. You know you've got to be careful with his helmet, Dan. Although the official confiscated the helmet, it provided enough of a disruption for Ginny to shove Webster off the top rope. Connors capitalised with a devastating neckbreaker for the win and fled before the rest of subculture arrived.
Wow. So your thoughts on that, James?
Well, there was some nice chain wrestling in this matchup, but Connors doing his best Regal impersonation. The hand behind the back gives it away, you know, when you're trying to do it. Be you, don't be another Regal, you know?
Absolutely, yeah. So you think he's trying to be a Regal when he should just be a Connors?
Yeah, and this was a really good match, you know. Both men, like talk about, gave everything on show here. So if he's got a bit of talent, and his look as well, like we saw at ringside for the match, it's just a bit bland, you know?
Absolutely, James. But a hype package, James, and I am the hypest of hypes for this hype package. It is Volta announcing his return next week.
Well, yes, and like I said, next week is going to be a huge show because of the return of the NXT UK champion. Well, Dan, you got a smile on your face. Are you happy that Volta returns next week?
Absolutely. Looking forward to seeing the big man back and seeing what he's got to say, seeing who's going to be brave enough to step up to the man who could chop you so hard your great grandkids would feel it.
Right, Dan, and like we talk about next month's NXT UK, we're going to have Volta returning, and we're going to also have the Women's Championship match between Kaylee Ray and Miko Satomura. We saw a promo for that now as we head towards our main event.
Yes, Rampage Brown made his entrance. Joe Coffey entered with Mark Coffey and Wolfgang, but he sent his Gallus mates to the back saying he wants to do this on his own.
Yeah, so we get the main event, Brown versus Coffey. And of course, 3 months ago, Joe Coffey and Rampage Brown absolutely battered each other. And this collision may have been even more physical, Dan. So we'll see how this main event plays out.
So Rampage Brown, what does he bring to NXT UK?
Well, I was going to ask you the same question because, of course, why do you know Rampage Brown and how do you know of him? Because he's a recent addition to NXT UK, been the past 4 months. And, of course, when did you see him to begin with?
We saw him on the independent scene. Rev Pro?
Rev Pro, exactly the same time as Charles Samuels. He even teamed up. You know, both of these men were vying for the Rev Pro Championship. Colt Cabana actually lost it at one of the shows. I think to Charles Samuels because Rampage Brown was there as well. He scared the shit out of us because quite intimidating man, Dan. What is it about him? Because in person, he's a giant as well.
Well, he's big. He's built like a superstar. He's husky, but he's just toned with it as well. You know, he's not big through size. He's just big through muscle. Certainly a dominating presence, and coming face to face with him, you wouldn't stand your chances, would you?
Well, he wouldn't, but Joe Coffey challenged him straight away when he debuted. And, of course, Rampage Brown getting the victory. But losing at Prelude may set you back. But, of course, Joe Coffey's been around and has he had too many opportunities now? Because he's been a challenger even when we watched it back in the day.
Well, I don't know, you know. Joe Coffey, I think he can be credited with being a founding father along with his brother and Wolfgang as well. You know, they was all around in the early days, maybe not getting on as well, but he's certainly got that superstar aura about him, and if his brother and Wolfgang are happy standing in the backgrounds while he gets all the shots.
But if he's not going to win, then what's the point? And how's he going to be successful elsewhere? If he can't get the job done in NXT UK, no offence, you know, but how's he going to get it done in NXT or the main roster?
Well, again, you can go somewhere and you can completely reinvent yourself, and you can go from, you know, being like this here to being the babiest of baby faces in NXT, and people will buy it.
I don't like Coffey, not just because of the Gallus gimmick and what it means and all that kind of stuff, but I just think it can go around in circles. Like, they've been around for a while. If they're that dominant, let's move on. You know, like I said, Gallus had a tag team reign befitting of, you know, like 400-day reign as well, during part, of course, the time took off for COVID and such like. But I think Joe Coffey just coming up short. You know, like, Volta, he can't beat Volta. You know, Rampage Brown, give him another shot, because that fight was pretty close. But for me, I've lost all confidence in him. Am I wrong, you know?
Is it because he's green and white, James?
I know, but I'm saying, is it because of, why is it? Why do you like him? What are the reasons? But why do you think he can beat Volta, let alone, how do you think he can beat Brown, let alone the NXT UK champ?
Well, I think the issue with Coffey is that he's not changed. You know, he has kind of been exactly the same as he has been since day one. You know, you've seen everyone else is like, you know, they've been knocked down. You've seen their depression. You've seen their fight to come back. Tyler Bate, for example, with the Heritage Cup. You've kind of seen him, you know, go down to his lowest and fight his way back. But you've not seen Coffey kind of like up there enough to be knocked down to come up again. You know, he's kind of always going down. He's always...
Well, his losses, and it just comes back as anything's normal. Not like anything changes. Him and Gallus were just, you know, they lost the tag team titles and they're fucking around playing with footballs outside.
Well, that's why he's not kind of getting the title. That's why he's not kind of, you know, progressing any further.
And if they're playing football, no wonder they're coming second. You know, like, this is what we're seeing. But looks like Coffey's trying to take control of Brown on the outside. But, I mean, Rampage Brown, has he got the look for the main roster, or is it just for NXT UK? Because, you know, we talk about Charles Samuels. They might just be there to be... Nothing wrong with that, though.
Well, no, there's not a lot. You know, I'm sure this is kind of like a big gig to these guys. You know, I'm not saying, you know, they've set their ambitions low, but, you know, they're getting televised. They've got a lot of fans around the world. A lot of people appreciating their product, and I'm sure they're getting a steady paycheck each week.
Well, I think that's the important thing, especially during this. You know, you talk about cuts elsewhere in WWE. At least it hasn't affected the NXT UK roster, which I think is pretty healthy at this moment in time. It's not overloaded, is it? But
do you think it's good that Vince McMahon doesn't have kind of like C&I over here? You know, like he's kind of like, oh, fire Mosby, and then like, you know, like that kind of out of touch bloke. Like, you know, Joe Coffey could go to Vince McMahon and he's like, yeah, I don't like that Joe Coffey. And, you know, he stood face to face with the man, don't know who he is.
Yeah, I think that's the problem when it's too many touches. Whoever's producing it at the moment is doing a really good job. Like I said, this is 4 weeks of television and it's kind of flown by as well, hasn't it? You know, and we've been told the stories, we've been set up. You know, the best thing is to get answers, but then also to get questions. We've got stuff to look forward to next month as well, you know?
Absolutely, you know, we've got 3 or 4 wrestlers that we think could be vying for a shot at Walter. So what do we need? Well, Walter's coming back next week, so he's going to have an announcement. Someone's going to try and step up to him. Maybe there might be 3 or 4 guys wanting to try and step up to Walter. You know, that result in the number 1 4 guys, I'm sure will deserve it. As will the winner of this match, Ilya Dragunov, Tyler Bate. You know, there could be a few names thrown into the hat there. We've got the women's title match to look forward to as well. Miko Satomura against Kaylee Ray.
And it's going to be good because also, like you said, when it comes to that, we're going to find out about the tag team division as well. Introduce you to Pretty Deadly. It's going to be pretty deadly. I'm not going to lie, Dan.
Right, you know my feelings towards Breezango.
Yeah.
Right, you know my feelings towards Enzo and Big Cass. Right, where would it rank? Do you think
it's going to be Enzo Big Cass level? I reckon.
Oh,
I reckon next time we do NXT UK, it's going to be big. But like I said, it's not bigger than this main event right now. As Brown just getting away from Coffey, who took control the past few minutes there.
Well, I just hope it gets shadowed by Walter and Mitch.
Well, like I said, it's going to be a big one next month, but it's been a big one this month as well with NXT UK.
Well, 2 big hosses, and Coffey is giving as good as he's getting.
Well, there's no doubt he's not a bad worker, but you can't be considered a threat, or if you just, you know what I mean, you keep losing the big one, whoever you're facing. And even if he beats Brown here tonight, that just levels the scores anyway. That was pretty impressive by Coffey. They're throwing Brown over his head like he was a sack of potatoes.
Potato.
And a huge clothesline there. There's no doubt Joe Coffey is built. But give me Sam Gradwell in this position. You know, give me someone maybe a little bit different. What the fuck was that? Coffey using the second and the third. Well, that is pretty impressive there.
Well, you know, we've said he's getting stale. He's not changing things up, doing new things.
Well, it wasn't pretty,
but it was quite effective. But again, if he doesn't get the victory, what's the point in bringing new stuff to the ring if it's not going to be effective?
Well, he's exchanging. He thinks he can beat Brown one-on-one. Otherwise, I've told Gallus to go backstage, really. So he's obviously got confidence in his own ability. And now Joe Coffey with Brown in the corner. Coffey picks him up.
Brown with a huge headbutt, though. Can Coffey hold on? Will Gallus realise that their brother in arms is in trouble and come out to the rescue?
I wonder when Wolfgang's going to get maybe a little bit bored of, like you said, sitting back, waiting for an opportunity. I mean, of course, he came up short against Rampage Brown, but there's no doubt he put in a pretty impressive performance.
Shoulder block from the second rope from Brown. Very impressive from the big man.
Without a doubt, coming out there with a shot, looking for his opportunity now. What's wrong with Brown? Is it because of the hair?
Yeah.
So if you pick if you had to pick between Brown and Coffey,
I don't know. I just think, like, you know, the way Brown fights, he seems kind of like robotic. You know, like he's, I don't know. He doesn't seem fluid.
he's fluid with those kicks in the midsection that Coffey keeps providing. We're going to see him going second and top again. I mean, what's the point of that?
No, yeah, Coffey's not much better.
Well, Coffey missed for days there. He might have hurt his knee in the process. And Brown be like a shark in the water.
Well, Brown misses with the clothesline. Coffey cross bodies him over the top rope. Both men tumble to the ground.
Right, I might be a bit negative here because the thing is, right, and people go, oh, bowl and shoe ugly, it's two big guys. This is kind of British wrestling, maybe it's kind of what maybe people remember of British wrestling. Would that be
like
fair
Big
to
Daddy
say?
against Giant Haystacks,
I don't want to say, but like kind of like bang, plodding, you know, oh, Mr. Kick, oh, headbutt, you know, that kind
Well, I
of.
suppose if it was kind of,
I know it's part of the history.
yeah, if you're looking at it from that way, it is two classic big men going against each other, huge hosses, you know, a big slugfest and that. And it looks like these two bulls are going to go charging towards each other, meeting in the middle. Neither man backing down. Oh, as Brown sidesteps, Coffey nearly goes into the stairs.
Oh, but Coffey using his intelligence and sending Brown into the other stairs. And they both men just collapse down. And yeah, I just had a vision of Big Daddy Giant Haystacks, but especially when they were banging into each other, you're thinking, oh, fucking hell.
We've seen that loads of times, but it can be quite entertaining. It is a good throwback.
Yeah, I suppose, you know, these are two athletic guys as well. It's not, you know, well, I don't expect everybody to come off the top. I wish Coffey would stop fucking doing it.
Oh, well, I'm glad he's not doing his springboard, and he's starting to look a bit like Pete Dunne.
That's the biggest compliment Joe Coffey's ever got. The drop kick. Now looking for the deadlift German, maybe.
I think he was struggling with that lift there. Brown had to help him out.
Now Brown fighting with everything he's got.
Well, a headbutt to the spine. That'll slow any big man down. A splash.
We can't call it Stinger Splash now. French suplex, and now go for it. They've sued Germans and Sting in the meantime. But to be fair to these two big men...
Aye, big man.
Aye, big man. Still in this one. That's what it is. Your dad watch you go, oh, yeah, big men.
Aye, your
You
dad
know what I mean?
watches
No.
that. He's that the son of Big Daddy and son of Giant Haystacks there.
Joe Haystacks.
Big Daddy Coffey.
Rampage Daddy doesn't sound right, so...
Daddy Rampage.
Daddy Rampage sounds right, I suppose. But well, anyway, let's see. The Coffey saying it's his time going for the lariat suplex, but blocked by Brown.
Well, Samoan drop. Was that an Harlem drop?
Well, that's what I'm saying. There's so many when you think about it. And now Brown going to look maybe for the Doctor Bomb and put Coffey away. Can he get him up?
No. Coffey with a backslide hits a huge elbow to the back. And he certainly has been targeting that middle lower back.
Well, it's obviously part of the game plan as he goes again.
Sends him back first into the turnbuckle.
Brown not being cleared, knocked off his feet. But the clubbing blows keep coming down. And now Coffey might be looking for the lariat to finish things.
Hits it. Straight into the cover. 1, 2, 3.
There you go. Joe Coffey beats Rampage Brown in the main event. Our very last match, Dan. What are your thoughts?
Well, does that make things right? Because, I mean, like, you know, you was like, oh, yeah, Joe Coffey's always getting close, and that Rampage Brown's on a good little run. Joe Coffey gets
victory. Does that mean Coffey's next in line, or now it's 1-1? Are we headed for a rubber match between the two?
Well, again, you know, when Walter makes his appearance next week, both men could have a legitimate case of both wanting to go against him, as many others. I mean, it just throws a few more hats into the ring.
Just a shame that we ended on this match, if you know what I mean. Don't get me wrong. Like, I enjoyed this match as itself. It was good. But I think everything else we saw was just excellent, you know, especially the Heritage Cup match. But obviously, I don't take words out your mouth.
Oh, it has been an absolute masterclass of wrestling. And again, it leaves... I want to know what happens next week, because in my head, I'm seeing a lot of legitimate competitors. Sam Gradwell, Shah Samuels... Joe Coffey, even Rampage, you know, Trent Seven. A lot of people are on a good little run, and they've all got legitimate cases to go against Walter. I'm hoping I'm going to see a multi-man, 6 guys in it.
Wow, that would be quite some moment. There's just 2 men in the ring, and Brown knows it's not over with defeat, but Coffey got the victory. Looks like they may be planning for a third match in the future as well, which again would be great to see in NXT UK.
I said both men are certainly respecting each other, and Joe Coffey says, look, 1-0, are we going to call it?
That's nice to see though, isn't it? You know, you don't usually see that.
I think that again is something different about Britain. It's like, look, do you want to take it to a third one? It's like that. There's a bit of respect, and it's like, no, fuck it, let's take it to the third.
Yeah, come on, you want to go? Let's go. Who thinks better? But like you said, it's Well, you talk about Brown and Coffey wanting a match. I think this man is interested, like you said, to return in Volta next week as well. And what a triple threat match that would be. And I think I would be. I mean, he might be the smallest man, the smallest dog in a fight, but.
Well, it's not the size of the dog in the fight, James. It's the size of the fight in the dog. You know what I'm saying?
Well, without a doubt. And this is interesting times now. Joe Coffey, Rampage Brown, Dragunov, with Walter coming back next week. But, yeah, Dan, I mean, final thoughts. What is your final thoughts on NXT UK this month?
Can we watch next week now? I mean, I just want to know what's happening. And I don't think I can wait for the month to catch up on NXT UK. And I don't think I've said that about a wrestling program in such a long time. I think NXT, when you had the amazing matches and the amazing takeovers going on, then is when I was last looking forward to seeing the next episode, which is an absolute brilliant thing. And I think it sums it up well in the hour time that it's got.
I think about that. Like I said, I get memories of like 2016 when we used to see NXT back when it was the kind of way it was, and also imagine if we had a takeover to build up towards. You know, imagine, hopefully in the future we will. And like I said, if it's near us as well, then let's see what happens with that. But NXT UK is brilliant. And I'm glad I'm not alone, because I've been sucking it off for the past, few months or so. And it's good that you're here to actually see it for yourself. And of course, you'll be back next month for a huge NXT UK. But that is it for now. Don't forget, because across all social media, Twitter at the WNR Podcast. I'm at the WNRJR.
I'm at WNRDan.
We're also on Facebook and Instagram. Across all the good platforms, send us an email at WNRPodcast@gmail.com, and YouTube, WNR Podcast. We have all the latest clips and podcasts at the same time on YouTube as do SoundCloud.
On your phone.
Also Spotify and iTunes, where you can download, subscribe, rate and review there. So that is it. The next episode of the WNR will be NXT Update, the fully fat version, if you will. And next, with Dan, will be NXT UK next month. But don't worry, Dan, you've done 3 in a row now, which I never thought would happen at the start of the year, and we've got big plans for July and August, which we will announce in due time as well. Have you enjoyed yourself?
Absolutely, it's been brilliant, and it invigorated my love for a show. I want to see what happens next on NXT UK, and that is legit. You can definitely tell during my voice throughout some of their matches. The Heritage Cup, A-Kid versus Tyler Bate. I was excited to see what was happening with that.
There's a bit where he was like, why is he not counting? It's because the time ran out. It's like, it did its job for the match.
I was so absorbed into it, I wasn't.
So, literally, thank you for listening, everybody. Don't forget to catch out NXT UK as well on the network. Just listen to the podcast and enjoy. But until the next show, I've been James Rowlands, and I was joined by
Dan White.
Thanks for listening, everybody, and bye.